And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China!
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China! All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China!
Russian.
Russia!
Italian.
Italy!
German.
Germany!
Swedish.
Sweden!
Korean.
Korea!
Egyptian.
Egypt!
Nigerian.
Nigeria!
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black and the vernacular that we're supposed to have. Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people known as the race black really are.
And by the way, we blood of Christ. We blood of Moses.
Right.
We're not just a color in a crayon box. And if we knew that, who we really were, we'd treat each other differently. We'd treat ourselves differently. So when you say, I'm black and I'm proud, like, but of what concept are we understanding? They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings.
No, they don't want it, but we are kings.
Mm-hmm.
But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God.
Right.
And that's why we farm land that isn't our own. Record labels, the NBA, Hollywood. These boys be scared. They be sitting there. Michael B. Jordan be telling my cousin, like, man, I want to do what Ye do, but I'm just, I'm right here. Or, like Kevin Hart be like, man, I like that. I'm envious of what Dave Chappelle could do.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. Except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries.
There's only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons. For real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel.
This is Hoppin' Bob. You run afoul of Bob, you run afoul of me. You run afoul of Bob, you run afoul of me. You run afoul of Bob, you run afoul of me. I'm tired, boss.
He said, it's too hot, boss. He tired.
Too hot. He tired. You tell that lazy jigaboo the state of Mississippi I ain't interested in his meteorological assessment.
Listen up, jigaboo. State of Mississippi ain't interested in your meteorological assessments.
You tell him the state of Mississippi is only interested in getting this here ditch cleared by sundown.
State of Mississippi want this here ditch cleared by sundown. You got that, boy.
Got it. He don't sound like he from around here.
He from New York City, boss. He from New York City, boss. He from New York City, boss.
I want to say peace and blessings to you, to everyone that is watching right now. I'm very irritated right now about what I see was happening among our community. First, I want to start off by saying peace and blessings to everyone. I'm going to give some shout outs and then we'll get into it. I'm really disappointed of what I'm seeing inside this community, right? Continuously proving that we as a people have issues. Kwame Brown, about a year and a half ago, I'm pretty much broke the internet dealing with the Stephen A. Smith. I refer to him as Stephen Hoppin' Bob Smith. But we have a lot of Hoppin' Bobs that's out here. And Kwame Brown exposed the get-along gang, the go-along, get-along gang. And he named them. And all the ones that he had problems with, right, because of this whole Stephen A. Smith, calling him a bust because here it is. He done made almost $100 million between his NBA contracts, being in the NBA for almost 13 years, and also, endorsements and all those different things. They kept riding him even after being out of the league, retired from the league, kept riding him as being, a bust, right? Riding him, label him a bust. In the league for 13 years, but he's a bust. In the league for 13 years, did things that most of us would love to do as a young man. That's make millions of dollars, buy a house for your mother, for your family, take care. Those are things that we inspired to do. We have goals to do, and many of us don't even achieve those goals, right? But the key is how he got dragged through the mud, right? And the person that really stood out the most out of that whole situation was Charlamagne the God, right? He went into the man's personal life, stuff he didn't even know about his own family, brought up his father's situation, brought up it was just so bad over him defending himself because of this situation. And I'm going to change this caption here. I'm going to change, not just caption, the screen print. I'm working on it right now as we speak. I want to change that so that way you can get a better understanding of where I'm going at with this. Because right now what we see Kanye West, Ye, and I'm, going through the ringer, all because he took a stand. Whether you agree or disagree, he took a stand. He took a stand towards the media. The media, right? Did he made a poor choice of words when he used the death con versus DEFCON, and I'm going to show you that again. Poor choice of word. He made some things I just can't roll with some of his approach and some of the things he said about slavery, about our people. I can't get with the White Lives Matter t-shirt. I can't get with none of that. But at the same time, we have to be fair. We have to be truthful. Kanye West called out Charlamagne the God about being part of the payroll for those that come against our community and others that go against it, sort of like the term buck the system. And what happened? What happened? What happened? Kanye West, nothing but he say, she say, not a video dropping, none of that, even if he did, but he say, she say stuff. Talking about another man's private part. He supposedly had a conversation with Kanye West, and Kanye West shared with him allegedly, supposedly, no proof of the conversation, and stating how he's in fear of what's the comedian, the guy that used to be on Saturday Night Live, Davidson, private part, the size of his private part. And now we have men in our community focusing on the size of Kanye's private part, reproductive organ, versus what's his name, Peter Davidson's reproductive organ. Wait a minute. I want y'all to understand this. Guess who they are talking about? They're not talking about the actual issue. Hey, let's talk about what Kanye West said here. Let's go through line by line and see if what he said is true. Let's start with what he said about, let's just say going DEFCON 3. Let's break that down. Then let's deal with the other portion of what he said about Black people, our people being the original people. Let's talk about those things. But yet, instead of Charlamagne the God addressing what he said, he puts out gossip. And this is pretty much a barometer that we can use to measure the state of our men, the men from our community of today. This rhetoric, this stuff, you don't see happening in other communities. You don't see this in the Jewish community as we know it. You don't see this in the white community as we know it. We don't see this type of stuff happening in the Asian community. But within our community, instead of addressing what Kanye said, now you have these so-called Black entertainers, men. You're not really seeing the women. You're seeing men clowning Kanye West about what Charlamagne the God said and what is supposedly been and allegedly a conversation, a one-on-one conversation. No audio, no nothing. Even if he did have audio, what does that have to do with this situation? Come on, family. I got to call it what it is. These guys don't want to address nothing what Kanye said, but want to insert into the discussion, and many of our brothers and sisters are falling for it. The okie doke. What does a man's reproductive organ have to do with the situation and the things that he brought to the table? He talked about Margaret Singer, whatever her name is, the founder of Planned Parenthood. He talked about those things, about how we're constantly every day being killed, babies. He talked about, and I talked about this as well, New York, especially most Black communities inside this country, right? The chances of the child being aborted versus actually being born is higher. It's more than likely that a child would be aborted versus a child being born. But the men are talking about another man's reproductive organ based upon a conversation that supposedly, allegedly happened in privacy. Come on, family. The same person that had on his show images of a man sodomizing another man. He had dolls in his backdrop. On his show, he had a man, more particular, supposedly a Black man's rear end, sitting on his counter, on his desk, playing with a man's buttocks. And was supposed to be a gift to his DJ, but playing on it, even doing, I can't even get into all of that because it's oh my gosh, I don't even want to get into all of that. And I would not show none of those images on here. You know, not having them flag this channel or take this channel down. I'm already, always, kind of walking on eggshells, so to speak, with this platform, with the shadow banning. But yet you got brothers and sisters, actually mainly brothers, right, who are in prominent positions talking about another man's private part, but not addressing the real issue. Come on, family. I watched the Young Turks, what they did and said to Kanye about Kanye West, calling him a bigot. They highlighted what Kanye West stated that was not included publicly in the interview that he did on Fox News. But it leaked, a piece of the video leaked that they did not want to play with Kanye West saying this. Let me play it again. This is the leaked footage of that interview of Kanye West and the guy, the anchorman from Fox News. This is what they did not want to play. This is what they wanted to suppress. They didn't want to play this portion of it. Let me let you hear it while I'll adjust this presentation while we're doing this. Here we go.
Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people known as the race Black really are.
Right? That's the hidden, right? That's the leaked portion of that interview that Fox News are in a stir right now, did not want to be released. They did not want that portion of the interview to be released. So what happens? What are they doing now? They decided, when I say they, right? Charlamagne the God and some of these so-called brothers from within our community, right, have taken it upon themselves, right, to literally, I'm changing this. I'm changing all of this while we speak, family. So while I'm speaking, you can actually see me making the adjustments to this image here, right? You can see me making the adjustments because it is definitely a an image that I don't even like showing, right? And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do a couple of things here to make sure we're in the clear about this, right? Because they're looking for anything to say that I'm going against YouTube policies, right? You know, they're good with trying to do that. And I'm not trying to, do that. But at the same time, we got to be real. So let me put this here, right? I want you guys to understand. Let me put this image here, right? I'm adjusting this right now. Okay, so you guys can see. I'm pretty thorough when it comes to my graphics, right? But I'm doing this as we speak. And let me do one additional thing. All right, let's see here. I want to make sure you guys understand for those that are coming in, so that way you can see what we're discussing. Buck breaking, right? The buck breaking of Kanye West. And let me do something right now. Let me put another thing here, so that way we can cover up a few things, just so that way, right, no one can say. I'm going to put this here, right? Let me shrink this down a little more. All right, I'm going to shrink this here, so that way, just in case someone try to flag what I'm doing here. So I'm covering this up here. And I want to cover up another area here. All right, let me do it here real quick. Let me shrink this down. And I'm going to drop this in the background. All right. Okay. Right. So I want to make sure, all right, that, we keeping everything here 100. All right. Let me see here. Let's go ahead. Let me try this now. All right. Let me take this out here. Right. Let me do one last thing to this. All right. And this should be good. All right. Now, this is a better picture, right? The cleaner picture. And I want you guys, and I'm going to stretch this out so you can get the visual. I want you guys to pay attention to what you're seeing here. All right. This is the playbook right here. This is the playbook right here. This is the playbook right here. Right? Let me slide this over. This is the playbook right here. Let me say that again. This is the playbook right here. I want you to pay attention to this image here. You got a brother, man, right? Part of the process of beating his own brother. While you see the overseer watching. It was even worse in this family. I couldn't put the images on here. I'm talking about buck breaking. You know what? When you start understanding the Willie Lynch letter, the Willie Lynch syndrome, they had what is called buck breaking. They also called it, they used the terms civilized versus uncivilized. The uncivilized Negro is what they referred to, was the one that went against the system, that fought against slavery, that fought against being enslaved. So they refer to him or her as being an uncivilized Negro. Right? The civilized Negro was the one that would actually embrace, right? That would embrace the oppression, that would not buck against, so to speak, against it. This is the playbook right here. And we see it playing out right now, because basically the playbook is if whatever group cannot address the truth, address your message, then what they resort to doing is trying to destroy your character, try to make, as the scripture says, when you see the word evil report, ra'ah dabath, right? They want to make your testimony good for nothing. So, of course, want to paint this picture that Kanye West, right? Is crazy. He's off his medication. And then they want to add insult to injury by mocking his reproductive organ, the size per se. And guess what? Got all these men with money, with influence. I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want to get them any shine on this platform. But guess what? You will see, if you just Google Kanye West and Charlamagne the God, and you'll see all the players lining up proving his point, proving his point, proving his point. And we see not the bucking of, as we see here, a slave. We're seeing the buck breaking of a billionaire, not a millionaire, a billionaire. We are witnessing right now the buck breaking of a billionaire. Kanye West made it clear, like, hey, you know, he can take his money and just go and live his life. He could go to Hawaii, disappear, whatever the case may be. But he made it clear that he's been told, called by the Most High, to put this information out. Now, you know the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. If he was saying a bunch of lies, it wouldn't have elevated or escalated to this level. But now his manhood is being on public display, stating that, and you guys already know, when you start dealing with stereotypes and the you know, what they would like to say, let's say, you know, urban legend, so to speak, about the black man's reproductive organ, for the size per se, versus other groups, right? You know what I'm going at with that. You know, similar to what they, you know, like the movie White Man Can't Jump. White Man Can't Jump. Wesley Snipes and what's his name? I can't remember the guy name. Great actor, the white guy that played Harrelson, I believe that's his name. He's a great actor. You know, I like watching his movies, but they played on the fact, far as he and Wesley Snipes in that movie, they were hustlers, playing on the fact that most people, especially according to urban legend, right? Urban legend is that a white person can't play ball. A white person can't jump. A white person, all they have is a jump shot. Yeah, Woody Harrelson, that's his name. Appreciate it. Really appreciate the info, guys. Right? Really appreciate it. All right. So what they're now doing, right, is using that stereotype, right? And now trying to buck break Kanye West by embarrassing him, trying to embarrass him by talking about he was scared of another man's reproductive organ, far as the size. I'm not getting into all of that. That is straight gossip. Come on, man. That is gossip. Gossip. Gossip, family. Straight gossip. Have men, the men, not the women, because you don't see the women talking about this. Men talking about the reproductive organ of another man. Now, when I used to be out there in the world, when I used to be out in the streets, man, you know, that's one of the things that was like, men didn't even indulge in or engage in that type of discussion, because it's like, wait a minute, I don't need to know what's, you know, what you got going on. That's your business. We're not going to sit up here and try to compare and all that foolishness. But you got men, supposedly men that have money, supposed men that have large platforms, literally shooting a gun with this foolishness, mocking. Hey, Kanye, man, I can't. I'm not going to deal with the rapper right now. I really respect him, but I really couldn't agree with him going in on Kanye this way. He's laughing about it, saying, "Hey, Kanye, you shouldn't have shared your personal business with another man. You know, you should not bring another man into your bedroom." Taking sides with Charlamagne the God. That's basically he say, she say stuff. Oh, come on, family. Let me pull up this Willie Lynch stuff, man. Let me pull up a little bit on that, so you guys understand what it is, right? Let me pull it up here. I have it in one of my presentations, so I'm going to bring it up here. Let's see here. I'm going to bring, I want to, this is an old presentation. So of course the graphics is not going to look the same, family. So this is like to show that this is a old presentation. Let me pull it up here. I want you to understand, guys, what it means. I mean, the Willie Lynch letter, right? And I want you guys to listen to the process of it. I don't want to just say it because, you guys know me. I don't like just to say stuff. I like to actually give the sources. But what we're seeing right now is the attempted buck breaking of a billionaire, more particular, a melanated millionaire, right? Let me pull this up here. All right, let me pull up the Willie Lynch. I'm going to copy this over. This is from a lesson that I did titled Fathers Are No Longer Needed. Fathers are no longer needed, right? That's the day and time that we live in. Fathers no longer needed. So let me just copy some of that over and we are going to discuss this, right? And this is a presentation I started doing years ago. So let me pull up some of the Willie Lynch information here so that way you guys can understand what you are seeing here, right? What you are seeing here. Let me pull this over. Let me pull this over. I'm copying it right now as we speak because I want to deal with this here. All right, let me put this at the top here. All right, let me put this at the top, right? Let's go to the next slide here. And I want you guys to understand this is real, family. This is real. And I just can't believe that I'm seeing witnessing what I see, especially when it comes to those that are supposed to be prominent figures or have large platforms, have this type of influence on our community, for us, the younger generation, to actually think that this is okay, family. I just don't understand it, family. I don't understand. I just copied a couple of slides over. Let's talk about it real quick. All right, here we go. Fathers no longer needed. And this presentation deals with the calculated emasculation. Let me say that again, family. Calculated emasculation. And what we see right now is a calculated emasculation, the attempt to emasculate a man. Let me say that again. Fathers no longer needed, calculated emasculation, right? Now let's talk about it here. Are fathers necessary, right? That's the question, right? And we know fathers, it's very necessary. That is, you can't, if you remove the father from the household, the whole household is out of whack. Likewise, the mother. In Hebrew, it's Abba. For mother, for father, and mother is Amma. The very first word you will learn in Hebrew when you learn the letters, right, is father. The first two letters form the word Abba, right? Abba. I may even pull up some Hebrew here and let you see a demonstration that a presentation that I did with the men, showing the importance of father, the importance of mother, and how they come together. I'm going to show that here in a second here. But this is an article that was posted on the website, theatlantic.com, right? This publication here by Pamela Paul, right? August 10th, right? August 2010, rather, excuse me. July, August 2010 issue, right? Notice what it says here. And this is just some bullets from it. And I'm going to post this this article inside the chat. You guys know, how we go. You know how we do things. I have to source up, and I don't want to just give you opinion. I want you to be able to go back and review this. So I'm going to copy this over into the chat. Family, it's unbelievable that we have to deal with foolishness right now, right? Self-check. Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate you for the love and support, family. Let's show Michael some support for just really sowing into this platform. And family, thank you guys, right? Because a year ago, we were sitting at just under 7,000 subscribers. And my goal was like, hey, will I hit 10,000 by the end of last year? That was the goal, to hit 10,000 by the end of the completion of 2021. And to my surprise, a year later, we're over 29,000 subscribers. And that's counting being shadow banned. That's counting the number of times I've been in YouTube jail, right? In spite of all of that, we have grown. We have grown. We started this platform 3 years ago. I didn't actually start taking it serious and doing lives and teachings on this platform until about 2.5 years ago. So in 2.5 years, we went from the first year being having 700 subscribers. By the closing of the second year, had close to 8 to 10,000 subscribers. And now here it is in the third year, right? We are about to close this year out with almost 30,000 subscribers in spite of it all. But anyway, so I thank you guys for the love and support. So let's go back to this article here, right? And I've copied it inside the chat so that way you guys can understand what's happening. The calculated emasculation of the man, especially more particular, the men in our community, right? So let's go ahead and read what it says here. It says most of the data fail to distinguish between a father and the income a father provides. Let me read that again. Most of the data fail to distinguish between a father and the income a father provides, or between the presence of a father and the presence of a second parent, regardless of gender. Pay attention. It says here, the quality of parenting, right? Biblars and Stacy says, they say this is what really matters, not gender. Let me say that again. They're saying, two women here, they are saying what really matters is not gender. It goes on to say, but the real challenge to our notion of the essential father might well be the lesbian mom, right? This is 2010. So they are saying that the lesbian mom, the presence of a lesbian mom is better than the presence of a real male father. But the real challenge to our notion of the essential father might well be the lesbian mom. On average, lesbian parents spend more time with their children than fathers do, right? That's what they're saying here in this article. They're saying that lesbian parents are better at being fathers than biological male, masculine men. That's what they're saying in this article. Now, family, this is heritage. I'm not going to get into this. But then again, let me just highlight this here real quick. Heritage. The Oxford Dictionary definition of heritage, as you see here, valued objects and qualities such as cultural traditions, unspoiled countryside, and historic buildings that have been passed down from previous generations. So when you understand heritage, right, you know, we as a people, we've had our heritage taken from us, family, ripped out of our hands. What is heritage? If you read Genesis chapter 10, and this is what you can shut down anyone in church when you start telling them and understanding what your identity is, that your heritage is. And this is what Kanye West is going through right now, because now he's dealing with heritage and people are trying to bug break him and tell him heritage doesn't matter when it comes to our people. Anyone can honor the law of return. You have Asians honoring the law of return, going to Israel and others. But let it be a Negro, anything but the Negro. Let the Negro start speaking truth about their heritage. We can embrace every other heritage, but when we start embracing our heritage according to the holy word, all of a sudden now we got a problem. As you see here, and when you read Genesis 10, you'll see heritage. It says that each one of Noah's sons had their own land, had their own language, right? Land, family, language, right? Land, family, language, had their own land, had their own language, had their own families, each one of the sons. Those are the pillars of what constitutes a nation being a nation. And these are what? Valued objects. That's what heritage is, family. We as a people, through the transatlantic world war, because it was not a slave trade, it was a world war, we have been hoodwinked. We have been stripped of out all the major tenets, the pillars of what constitutes a nation to being a nation. Heritage, those valued objects, land, family, and tongues. They redefined all of these things under the institution of race. Heritage, valued objects, family. There's an attack on our heritage. And over time, there have been a number of systems created to systematically reduce the importance of the father. These systems' primary agenda is to attack identity of the family through their fathers, right? Act of hostility, family. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 29. I want y'all to see this here. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods? Wait a minute. Is that the playbook for the Willie Lynch process? How to buck break a Negro? How can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he first bind the strong man? That's going to tie into the Willie Lynch letter. And then he will spoil his house, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all see these the bells, right? These Christmas bells, right? That Christmas tree that many of us are fighting for, our own people are fighting for. Y'all see this yoke that's around this man's neck. So many of our ancestors had yokes around their necks. This is an authentic yoke that our people were subjected to with these Christmas bells, right? Sounds. As my brother Godfrey would say in some of his commentary, whistle while you work, make noise, so that way, as long as they hear those bells, they know where we are. And many of us still have the yoke around our neck with these bells on, like the Charlamagne, the God, and others still got these bells around their necks, so that way they can give an account and they can show the people, the oppressors, that, hey, look, boss, I can take care of my own people. Yeah, I could go in. I know how to embarrass them. AKA How to Sell to a Negro was produced by a brother man, showing the very places like Macy's, Bamberger's, and all those type of places, these retail outlets back in the 50s and 60s, right? How to sell, how to market to our people. It was a brother man that gave them the playbook on how to market to our people. Give them cheap stuff, but as long as you put a name on it, they will buy it up. Come on, family. Claude Anderson, man, I thank the Most High for the Claude Anderson. One day I hope and pray I can have Claude Anderson on here and let him deal with and let him talk about inappropriate behavior, because I'm going to try to share over the next week, upload that lecture, so that way he can give you the playbook of how this behavior that we see happening has been going on for centuries among our community. Meritorious manumission. Offer a way out to one, so that way he can sabotage the rest. Notice what it says here. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house? Come on, family. Come on, family. Come on, family. The institution of race, right? See, this is where we're so lost, family. We are so lost. We have been reprogrammed to thinking that the color black, the same color my cell phone that's sitting on my desk, the same color as this microphone that's sitting in front of me, the same color as my car, the same color as my wife's car. We think that black is a ethnicity. We think that black is going to tell us our heritage. It's our heritage. That's who we are. That's our nationality. That's going to tell us what tribe we are from, what part of Akibulan or Africa, because Israel is part of Africa. That's Northeast Africa, now been changed to be labeled the Middle East to try to remove it from Africa. But Israel is part of Africa, no matter how you slice and dice it. The word Africa, Afar, comes from Abraham's sons, by way of his wife Keturah. We can't get around that. So what happens? The same people that are telling us, starting with religion, the church, starting with religion, identity doesn't matter. Identity doesn't matter. Well, how you flip it back on them? If you saying identity doesn't matter, you guys can identify who you are, and then you whitewash some of the major players inside the scriptures, like the Egyptians, right? The ancient Israelites, and actually, it's hard to change the appearance of the Ethiopians. Those are three key groups that are connected to Israel, according to the scriptures. The Babylonians, right? The Sumerians. But notice what it says here, family, about race. Contemporary scholars agree that race was a recent invention and that it was essentially a folk idea, not a product of scientific research and discovery. This is not new to anthropologists. What is it saying? That many of us are using the color of our skin complexion as if it's our identity. It's a sign, and we can talk about that. It is a sign the Most High used Moses' chocolate dark skin, his melanated skin, as a sign to the non-believing Israelites in Exodus chapter 4. Then when we get to Revelation chapter 1, right, we see that the Messiah, Christ, his skin complexion, the texture of his hair is being used as a sign to those that don't believe. And today that we live in, right? Many of us are so used to the authority of the oppressor, these religious systems, and the Most High, like it did the ancient Israelites in Exodus, used Moses' skin complexion to show them that the Most High is real. The Yahweh, right? That's his name. Some of you guys may say Yahweh. Some of you guys may say Yahuwah. His name, Yahweh, means he exists, right? He exists. All signs come from the Most High. Right? And he had Moses use his skin complexion as a sign to the Israelites. Moses, who was raised up in the household of Pharaoh's daughter, right? Who looked like an Egyptian, right? Just like Joseph looked like an Egyptian, just like Apostle Paul mistaken to be an Egyptian, just like the Messiah. Guess what? His father, Joseph, far as not his biological father, but the father of his household, Joseph and Mary, they fled to Egypt to escape genocide, right? So again, race is an invention, a folk idea, not a product of any scientific research and discovery. This is not new to anthropologists. Family, this is not new. The anthropologists know that the institution of race, they know it's a joke. It was not based on any scientific equation. They took pretty much everyone that's in Africa and lumped all of us up under one color description, and that's black. Come on, family. African American, guess what? That's not a direct label. All it's just saying is that we originated in the continent, the landmass of Africa. Africa has over 70, and this is counting the Middle East, the Northeast Africa. Africa has over 70 countries, independent countries. So saying that you're African American still doesn't tell you where you're from. It just tells you that, hey, I'm from that landmass over there, right? You can say that you live in the United States, but it doesn't tell you what state you were born, what city you were born at, what hospital you was born at. I remember dealing with a group of pastors and a Caucasian pastor, this discussion that we had, this powwow that we had. The discussion was, why is black men leaving the church? Right? And I gave them the answer. And a Caucasian pastor stated, and he was trying to be sarcastic, say, hey, I'm from Africa and I am an American, and that makes me Afro-American. He had a card to prove that he's an African American, an Afro-American. And I said to him, you just proved my point. I said, even though you are African American, according to your papers and you in the legal term, but your family is Dutch. That's where you come from, Dutch. He said, no way. How did you know? I said, see, I'm correct. And then when I started breaking down the South Africa, the players of South Africa, I said, that's the problem. You could pinpoint your heritage. But most of our brothers and sisters in this continent, inside the Caribbeans, right? in the Caribbean areas, right? The islands, right? The U.S. territories, as well as the French. I'm not getting into all that, but we can't. But there's breadcrumbs that's taking us back, right? They don't want to talk about the Igbos. They don't want to talk about the Limbas. They don't want to talk about the Yoruba. They don't want to talk about the Bambara. They don't want to talk about those groups that have been proven to be, and others, blood descendants of the ancient people, the ancient Israelites. So let's finish with this institution of race, right? Notice what it says here. The term race, which had been a classificatory term like type or kind, but with ambiguous meaning. In other words, generic. See, Genesis, for those that want to go there about, it doesn't matter, identity doesn't matter. Christ, his blood is red. We don't have to worry about that. As long as Christ died for everybody. But Christ made it clear that in Matthew chapter 15, that he did not come but for no one else but the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Not some spiritual Israel, but a bloodline descendant, a physical Israel, right? He made it clear. Paul made it clear that have the Most High did away with Israel? Yah forbid. Israel is still in existence, physical Israel. Even Joel chapter 3 made it clear that the Most High would do a blood transfusion to cleanse the blood of his people, to make sure that there's a remnant, always a remnant intact. Physical Israel, not some Israel, spiritual Israel that the church teach. But guess what? Genesis, the word generic, guess where those words come from? They come from the Proto-Indo-European word gene. So the word Genesis, as you see here, that's the transliteration, is dealing with genealogy. It's dealing with gene. So for those preachers, those religionists that try to tell you identity doesn't matter, your heritage doesn't matter, then they just they just erased the whole entire book of Genesis. Because when we see begat, such and such begat, such and such begat, the primitive root, or should I say the Proto-Indo-European definition of gene is begat. Oh, come on now. Begat of. So that's why you see such and such begat, such and such begat, the generations of Adam, such and such begat. Such and such begat. Then when you get over to Genesis chapter 10, the generations, these are the generations, these are the sons of Shem, or not Shem, the sons of Noah, right? And then you see the generations of each one of the sons. Then you get over to Genesis chapter 11, the continuation over there. Man, you erase the first chapter of Matthew's. You erase the first couple of chapters, right, of Luke, right? You erase those things, right? For those that are trying to say identity doesn't matter, we're the only group of people that can look in that book, look in the Bible, and tell and look at it, and most of us can't see ourselves in it. This is why you see the conscious community growing. Why? Because these are the things that they use to attack, to seduce our brothers and sisters from following the way. Let's get back to it. So notice what you see here. It says, but with ambiguous meaning, became more widely used in the 18th century and crystallized into a distinct reference for Africans. And it goes on to say Indians and the Europeans, but I didn't put the full quote here. All right. But notice what this says here. By focusing on the physical and status differences, this is where you get into stereotypes. This is where you get into the blackface that was created when you deal with the blackface minstrels, with the dark skin, the big red lips and the eyes that look like it's going to come out of the head. This is dealing with blackface, right? Physical and status differences between the conquered and enslaved, stereotypes, and Europeans. So making sure that there's a line drawn in the sand between the conquered and enslaved people and the Europeans who did it, who committed these atrocities. The emerging ideology linked the socio-political status and physical traits together and created a new form of social identity. Wait a minute. So they used the institution of race to literally turn the entire globe upside down because they created a new form of social identity. Black man, black woman, black people. They changed it upside down, turned it upside down, now have us chasing color descriptors and not really understanding our true heritage. This is what I did 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago at the Black Lives Matter march that went viral. Let me play it again. Listen to the confusion of our people that think that their heritage is the word black, this new social construct that was given to our people, that was forced on our people by this institution of race. Here we go.
And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what?
China.
All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
So that's what the institution of race has done to our people. We have been so dumbed down about really seeking who we are. We've been so institutionalized, as in the words of Darby, the late Pastor Darby, we've been, I think he said, I know I did a lesson called We've Been Hacked, but I think he said something else, jacked. They jacked us. We've been jacked. We've been hacked. We've had our DNA altered by way of traumatic experiences, and now we're passing those experiences down to the next generation. He said they jacked us, and I did a lesson called Hack, dealing with how we've been hacked. Our DNA had been hacked, and now it affects our, it reprogrammed and it altered our reproductive organs to now, guess what? We hand down behaviors, certain behaviors and phobias to the next generation, and they don't have to experience the same traumatic experience. So let's deal with the Oxford Dictionary definition of emasculate. Let's see what it says, emasculate. It says here, deprive, in other words, a man of his male role or identity. Let me say that again. Emasculate, to deprive a man of his male role or identity. It goes on to say in the sub-entry number 2, or entry number 2, make, in other words, someone or something weaker or less effective. So what we see happening today with Kanye West, we have our own people, right? Our own people, the people that share the same skin complexion, the same people that are descendants from slaves by way of the transatlantic world war, the same people who are sons and daughters of prisoners of war, because the transatlantic slave trade was actually a world war. And I proved this over and over again. Now, these are the same people that are now being used as part of the buck breaking system. So make someone or something weaker or less effective. Emasculate, right? Buck break a billionaire. That's what we're witnessing right now. I posted other celebrities saying what Kanye West saying, in other words, that we are the people of the book. But this particular celebrity has all the heat on him. Nick Cannon had the heat on him, right? But didn't source up. And what happened? What happened? Right? And I want to make this clear, not being insensitive to atrocities that have happened in other communities, but they were talking about the word Semitic. Instead of giving you the definition of the word, what they did, they just continued to talk without showing sources. But you have a billionaire, right? A billionaire that is taking a stance, right? See, that's the issue that many had with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a billionaire. There's a certain demeanor that comes with someone that's a billionaire. There's a certain level of arrogance that comes with a billionaire. But now we see our own brothers and sisters with these large platforms coming at doing the job, right? Like that Young Turks article, or should I say video, when they did about Kanye West, they had our own people, our brother man, doing the segment, bringing forth the study. I mean, the story, doing the commentary on that. That's the playbook. Use our own people to say what they want to say, but can't say it because they know the ridicule. They know the fight that's going to come with it. But let us say it. Let's get someone from within the community. Let's offer them meritorial manumission. Let's offer them a plan. Let's offer them a steak of the devil's pie. Let's give them a slice of the devil's pie, so that way if something happened, if there's an uprise, we're going to make it so that way if there's an uprise and this person that we designated to be that mole, and they come tell us that the slave's about to rebel, and we find out it's true, and we're able to stop that uprising. Guess what? We'll free that person that ratted them out. We'll free them. We'll give them all kinds of benefits. Come on, family. Let's continue. Emasculate, to deprive a man of his role or identity. So a system and order, right? There's a system and an order that was created to emasculate the man. Hebrew definition of emasculate, notice what it says here. It says to castrate a eunuch. So the Willie Lynch system, here it is, the Willie Lynch system of emasculation. See, they'll try to tell you, hey, well, Willie Lynch didn't exist. This is fake. But guess what? Whether you want to say it's fake or not, guess what? The process, the playbook is in place because we see it playing out right now before our eyes. The emasculation of a billionaire, a Negro billionaire. So the Willie Lynch letter, The Making of a Slave, December 25th, 1712. This speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the bank of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his method to slave owners there. Lynching, right? Lynchburg, right? Lynchburg, Virginia. For those who think that Willie Lynch didn't exist, right? They still have enough things out here that, seem to pay homage to Willie Lynch, like even the name Lynchburg, right? But anyway, Virginia. The term lynching is derived from his last name. So when we go to the etymology dictionary of lynch, notice what it says here: inflict, severe. In other words, bodily harm, punishment. But notice what it says: inflict severe, but not deliberately fatal bodily punishment. And we know especially when you get into that lynching period, the height of the lynching period, it was all about inflicting severe, fatal bodily punish, fatal. It was to kill, to murder, to destroy. They did all kinds of things in that lynching process. Hanging was the last end of it. Killing them was the last leg of it, so to speak. But inflict severe bodily punishment on someone without legal sanction. And notice what it says here. From earlier Lynch law in 1811 in reference to such activity, which was likely named after William Lynch. Wait a minute, it says likely named after William Lynch, Pittsburgh, Virginia, right? But notice what it says here. Other sources trace the name to Charles Lynch, right? A Virginia magistrate, okay? It goes on to say here, originally any sort of summary justice done without authority of law for a crime or public offense, right? Just highlighting some things here. It says here, the narrowing of the meaning to extra legal execution by hanging is evident by the 1880s and after 1893, lynching mostly meant killing of blacks by white mobs. Let me say it again. 1893, after 1893, lynching mostly meant killing the killings of blacks by white mobs, especially in retaliation for alleged sexual assault of white women. All right, that was the playbook to lynch someone. So the Willie Lynch system produced the lynching laws. All right, and here's some quotes from this letter. Notice what it says here. Hence, both the horse and the Negro must be broken. So what they're doing is comparing breaking the men, starting with the men. They're using it in comparison to a stallion, a horse, right? Notice what it says here. Hence, both the horse and the Negro. Y'all know what it means. Negro is interchangeable with the word nigger, negas. Naga. Y'all know what I'm going at with that. Those words are synonymous to one another. Synonymous. They're synonymous if you understand the true meaning of it. Right? Let me play this clip real quick. You will see that a white kid, a young white kid in the National Spelling Bee or ESPN was asked to spell this word, and you'll see the definition of niggas at the bottom of the screen. And you can Google this as well. Right? Not just Google it. You can actually pull it up on YouTube. Right? Let me stop this here. Take this banner from below and let me show you this video clip real quick so you guys can see.
Niggas.
And did you say the word loudly for the judges?
Nigga. Niggas.
One more time.
Nigger. Niggas.
Niggas.
Nigga. Niggas.
All right, so you heard it yourself. And here
Strong's
is
G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
Could you use it in a sentence?
Real nigga roll call. Niggas bleed. Jigga my nigga. Niggas for life. Real niggas don't die. Shame on a nigga. Suck a nigga. Ain't no nigga. Ain't no nigga. Ain't no nigga.
right. Y'all know what I'm going at with that, family. That's right. Fair use for anyone that may try to, report this video, report this teaching. Fair use. All right. So hence both the horse and the Negro, the Nagad, the niggas, as you just heard, because niggas, right? That was also the term used for Simon in the book of Acts. The what? Nigger, not Niger. That's the proper pronunciation as I played. I'll play it one more time, just so those that don't know, this is what not Niger is actually pronounced Niger. Listen again.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right. So I want to make sure you guys understand. Okay. So hence both the horse and the Negro must be broken. That is breaking them from one form of mental life to another. So on those slave ships, man, you had doctors, you had lawyers, you had kings, you had queens, you had educators, you had soldiers, all on these slave ships, right? To break them from one form of mental life to another, the form of being free to now being raptured, because that's what the word rapture means. The church has done a number on us, family. Got to have our people celebrating and wanting to be raptured. Raptured means rape. It means abduction, rape, kidnap, abduction. So here it is. It's saying that is breaking them from the one form of mental life to another by way of rapturing them. Keep the body, take the mind. In other words, break the will to resist. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized nigger, nagas, negas, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. See, this is what we see happening. Any one of our people that seem to buck the system per se, fight against the system, we are considered uncivilized. So now what they're saying here, now use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. So if they're thinking one way, if they're talking about going in on against the system, let's put the pressure on them so that way they can reverse their choices, they can reverse their decisions, right? So take the meanest and most restless Negro. Let me say that again. Take the meanest and most restless Negro, strip him of his clothes. Wait a minute. Kanye West got his own clothing. He developed his own clothing line. Kanye West is not wearing, like we used to say back in the day, the dookie ropes. He's not wearing all kinds of jewelry. He's wearing clothes that people have been mocking him for, saying it looked like hand-me-downs. But guess what? He done made billions off of it. He canceled Gap. Gap didn't cancel him. So strip him of his clothes. Strip Kanye of his clothes. Strip Kanye of his wealth. Try to make it so that way people don't want to deal with it. Purchase it. But guess what? He's already a billionaire multiple times over. Take the meanest and most restless Negro. In other words, they're saying take that one Negro that refused to submit to the system. Take the meanest and most restless Negro, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male Negroes, the female and the Negro infant. In other words, that woman, his wife, even though it wasn't considered a wife at that time, if you understand the institution of slavery, but take the male Negro, the most dominant, the A male, along with the woman that he was allowed to reproduce with. Notice they said, go at him, humiliate him, buck him. Wasn't just them putting tar, as you see here, tar and feather him, tie each leg to a different horse, face in opposite direction, set him a fire and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining Negroes. They also sodomized him. Well, all of this in front of all of his people, including the woman that he reproduced with, his should have been wife, supposed wife. But notice what it says here. The remaining Negro male, right? And this saying here, right? Now what he's going to do is, right? Take the next one in line. In other words, the remaining Negro male, take the next one in line, right? And do the same thing, but get him to the point of death in front of the female, of his female, and of the infant. But don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. Saying, hey, you know what? We can still breed him like an animal, right? Beat him, show, make it clear in front of everyone that this A male right here, right? The lowest Caucasian, the lowest slave owner will have more power to show that female, that uncivilized female, so to speak, and that uncivilized, those that want to go against the system. Guess what? Show them through how they humiliated this man and have him living among them that guess what? There's no security. There's nothing that we can do to protect them. But they'll still use them to breed. Breeding, family. So in this letter, he further gives instructions, in other words, laws, and how to systematically break the woman's trust in the man. Come on, family. And this is an actual photo in the backdrop here. This is someone that was lynched and treated like an animal, like how many of these hunters go out and they kill, whether it's a deer, whether it's a, let's say, what's some of the other things that they may hunt for, whether it's turkey, some of the other items. When you go to Africa, they hunting elephants. But like this is a game, like this is a trophy. They presenting him just like that. When you look at fishermen, when they go out fishing, they bring back a large fish, whether it's a shark or something that just broke all kinds of records. They display their catch as a trophy. And that's what you see in the background. One of our brothers being used as a trophy. So in the letter, he further gives instructions, in other words, laws, and how to systematically break the woman's trust in the man, right? We have reversed the relationship in her natural uncivilized state. She would have a strong dependency on the civilized niggas, right? Niggas or niggas, male. It goes on to say, and she would have a limited protective tendency towards her independent male offspring and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her, dependent on the system, be dependent on the oppressors, separate herself from anyone that looks like they are about to go against the system. Hence, this is the welfare system, the early welfare system. You guys remember that movie Claude with, I think her name, I can't think of her name. I can't think of her name. I know it had James Earl Jones, and I can't think of the lady's name. Great actress who died. I can't think of her name. But that's what they highlighted inside of that movie. They highlighted the welfare system. In that movie, they highlighted that if any of the women was on welfare, they could not have a man around. So many women did not. That's her name, Diane Carroll. Thank you for Aaron Blaylock. Appreciate it. Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones. All right. So that's what they did. Get them dependent on the system and not want to have men around. That's part of the system here, right? Break the dependency, break the unity. And she would have a limited protective tendency towards her independent male offspring and would raise male offsprings to be dependent like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance. So it goes on to say, we reverse nature by burning and pulling a civilized Negro apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed. Let me tell you this. Come on, family. The male image destroyed, the image of a strong Negro or niggas. Now I got the image of a strong male who's willing to defend and die for his family, that would protect their household. That image has been destroyed to show that there's no longer any men in the community that will stand their ground and say, hey, I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect my household. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal caused her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. In other words, not to be dependent on their father. This is why one of the things that you could use, and I use it as an icebreaker, when I ask the people, what does the Bible say about loving your parents? What does it say, family? What does it say? Family, if you want to type it inside the chat, what does it say? What does the scripture say about honoring your parents? Just quote it real quick. And I'm going to see how we do here. Just quote it real quick. And I'm going to use this as an example. Just quote it real quick. Come on, family. I'm going to do some shout outs here as you post your answers. What did the Bible say about honoring your parents? Honor who and who? Right? Now, let me show you here. Right? We got honor your father and mother. Honor your father and mother. Right? We got honor your mother and father. Right? Honor your mother and father. Honor thy father. Right? Okay. Let's see what else. Love thy father. Okay. All right. Notice here's some more. Honor your mother and father. Right. Honor your mother and father. Honor your father and mother. Honor your father and mother. All right. Right. We see here, right? Father and mother. Right. We have it. We have it here. Honor your mother and father. Now, guess what, family? And I taught this a while ago. But when I would do this as an icebreaker, when I asked them, what does it say? 99% of the people will say, honor your mother and your father. That's not what the scripture says. It says, honor your father and your mother. We've been programmed to put mother in front of dad. Let me say that again. We've been programmed to put mother in front of dad. You can ask this question over and over again. 9 times out of 10, you will hear the people say, honor your mother and your father. It's reverse, honor your father and your mother. That's the proper order. Not saying that you're picking one of the over the other, but guess what? The father is the head of the household. So you have pastors, and I would challenge it. I got video recordings of when I put that out there, that icebreaker out. You have pastors saying, honor your mother and your father. And I said to them that they are wrong. They was like, no, that's what the word says. I said, pull it up. Pull it up. And they were surprised to see it means honor your father and your mother. There's an order here, family. This tells you just how bad we've been hacked, how badly we've been deceived. Come on, family. So now, because of this suppression, because of how we've been reprogrammed, how we've been hacked, how we've been jacked, as the late Pastor Darby would say, guess what? Now the woman, because of this traumatic experience, now she is going to pass these behaviors down to the next generation. This is how you create a generational curse. This is how you create generational strongholds, because the institution of slavery, guess what? It wasn't just for that moment. It was to be a perpetual thing. So in this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her men. She will raise her women. Notice what it says. She will raise her male. She will raise the females. Offsprings and reverse roles. And reverse roles. Putting the female first. Oh, come on, family. We see this playing out right now. We see the calculated emasculation of a billionaire, a Negro billionaire right now. So notice how the letter does not use the title husband and wife, because it was calculated. Let me pull this up, family. I'm going to show one more thing. I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section for anyone that want to jump in. I see Jay Highstyle, I see Sister Carol. If you guys want to jump in and you guys want to share your thoughts, but the key, family, let's be respectful. Let's not curse. And family, I don't want to hear about Kanye West, the devil worshiping. I don't want to hear about that. Let's talk about where we are now, because there's a bigger issue. So notice this. This is the National Archives. Slave marriages had neither legal standing nor protection from the abuses and restrictions imposed on them by slave owners, slave husbands and wives without legal recourse. Why? Because they weren't married. Could be separated or sold at their master's will. Notice this here. Couples who resided on different plantations were allowed to visit only with the consent of their owners. Slaves often married without the benefit of clergy. Guess what? The clergy is the one that's supposed to take notes. The clergy is the one that's supposed to record that marriage, because legally it'll be against the slave owners wouldn't be able to do what they did, because you have a legal binding marriage. That wasn't it. Couples who resided on different plantations were allowed to visit with consent of their slave owners, right? Of their owners. Slaves often married without the benefits of clergy. And as historian John Blassingame states, notice this, the marriage ceremony in most cases consisted of slaves simply getting the master's permission and moving into a cabin together. In other words, shacking up. They just said, hey, you know what? I'm gonna let you shack up with this slave woman over here. I'm gonna let you guys shack up. But you don't have a binding contract, a legal binding contract. Our ancestors were not married. Most of them were not married during slavery. They were just shacking up. And this is why we see this behavior running rampant in our community. Many would say, hey, you know what? I would rather shack up to test the goods versus being committed to that male or female. How many times have you guys heard that? Some of you guys may have said that in the past. Come on, family. That's all marriage was. They didn't have a legally binding contract because they were subjected to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the slave owners, not the slaves, not the Most High, but the slave owners. That's right. This is where you get common law marriage from. But notice this here, PBS detectives. Notice this here. Now I'm going to drop this in the link, this link in the comment section, just so you guys can have it for your reference. Let me drop this here. Let me drop it here. This family, this is why we have to go deeper with our understandings. We have to go deeper with our studies. So that way, right, when we have to give an account, we can. When we have to articulate ourselves, when we have to speak up for what's right and what's wrong, we have sources, right? Let me drop this link here that I'm about to cover in the comment section. All right, here we go. So notice here, family, this is what it says. Marriage isn't what it used to be. As America has evolved over the centuries, so too has the institution of marriage. In colonial times, marriage was largely a matter of property and reproduction. When a colonial woman married, in other words, a Caucasian woman married, she gave up any legal rights as an individual. Notice what it says here. She was legally bound to obey her husband just as she would obey God, obey the Most High. So the laws were all about empowering the white man, the white Caucasian slave owner. Because if you study marriage, guess what? Up until the turn of the 20th century, the 19th, 20th century, it was legal for husbands, so for white men, to beat their wives with a belt. Come on, family. It's right here. It's right here. It's right here. It was all about the man. The Constitution was all about the Caucasian man. It wasn't about the women, because guess what? In the early 19th century is when the women, right, starting with Caucasian women, were able to vote. This is where you start getting into the amendments. So when a colonial woman married, she gave up any legal right as an individual. She was legally bound to obey her husband just as she would obey God. Despite this, colonial marriages rarely happen in churches. What's more, few people found fault with pregnant women marrying. In fact, the practice was quite common in early America. None of these conditions apply to slaves. Let me show you this here. None of these conditions were conditions applied to slaves, however, who were forbidden to marry. Come on, family. It's right here. It's right here. Our ancestors were forbidden to marry. Forbidden to marry, family. Forbidden to marry. Forbidden to marry. Forbidden to marry, family. Right? Again, this is our lesson for today, family. This is what I want to talk to you guys about. This is the thing that is really making my skin boil, bubble. I'm gonna drop the link inside the comment section, and anyone that want to jump on, be respectful. Please be respectful. If not, I'm gonna have to drop you off. Right? Be respectful. Don't have any crazy things in your background. Preferably show your face. Right? So that way the people can see you, you know, if the people never saw you before, right? Now, some of the ones that's coming on, like Sister Carol, people, you guys already know how they look. You guys seen their face. Jay High Style, you guys seen their face. But if there's anyone that's coming on, show your face. So that way the people know who you are. All right. But anyway, I dropped the link inside the comment section. Let me do it again. Make sure I put it in the comment section. There we go. So family, for those that have jumped in late, this is what we're seeing right now with the Kanye West situation, right? And I'm going to show you, right, what the major stir was about, right? I'm going to show you the tweet. I'm going to show you the tweet. This is the tweet, right? This is the tweet. I'm going to highlight it here. This is the tweet. Let me go back. This is the tweet. And let me blow it up here so you guys understand exactly what was said, right? This is Kanye West. This is his tweet. I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Right? He said he's going DEFCON 3. Family, it's not DEFCON 3, it's DEFCON. But he said DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He was wrong. He should not have put a statement out there like this. Right? Regardless, if you have to explain what he intended on saying, then he was not good with saying this right here. You can't get around it. He said DEFCON, death. Come on now. And you say Jewish people, come on now. That's not going to go well. Right? So this is the original tweet that he put out there that he should have thought about before he put it out there. Right? When I wake up, I am going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Right? But then when we fast forward, let me see if I can fast forward, because I highlighted the other portion of it. Right? It says here, the funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because Black people are actually Jew. Right? That's what he says. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone who ever opposes your agenda. Right? He said he can't be anti-Semitic, and I proved, gave you sources. Right? Even broke down the word Shemitic. I want to say thank you, peace and blessings to Sharon Glover. Thank you, my sister. Thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate you. And family, let's show some love to Sharon. Sister Sharon here for her love and support. Thank you. I really appreciate you, my sister. Thank you again, family. Let's show some love to her right now. Let's show some love to her right now. All right. Let's see here. So family, I just wanted to show you this here. And real quick, I got my brothers from Stay on Fire Ministry. I'm going to bring them on here in a second here. Let me show you one quick thing before I bring them on. Let me show you what anti-Semitism means. Or Semitism means, so that way you get an understanding of what it is. I'm just going to pull the definition up so that way you understand what it means. And this is why none of us can be anti-Semitic. Notice what it says. Semitic, of or relating to or constituting a subfamily of the Afro-Asiatic languages, right? But also this is now being used of a group of people. You have Hebrews, Aramaic, right? You start getting into the Arabs, Aramaic, right? Again, Hebrews, Aramaic, Arabic, Amharic, that's Ge'ez, that's the Ethiopians, right? And their language is a Shemitic language that comes from the ancient Hebrew. It says of or related to characteristics of Semites, Jewish, right? So Jewish, right, comes from, it says Semitic is a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic. Afro-African, Asiatic, and I proved, and I'm going to actually do a lesson on it. The word Asia comes from eighth or eighth, interchangeable. Eighth, Ethiopics, Ethiopia, right? Ethiopia, right? Eighth comes from that. So Ethiopics or Ethiopica, it means dark, black face. So how can someone that is the progenitors, right, of the Shemitic people, Shem, right? Because Afro is a Shemitic word. If you look up Josephus, he talks about Abraham and Keturah, sons named giving birth to the term Africa. But anyway, that's a Shemitic term. So how can an Afro-Asiatic person be anti-Shemitic? So I just want to share that with you, family. I'm going to bring my brother Stay on Fire Ministries on. Let me bring them on right now and get some commentary from him. And let me bring them on right now. All right. Can you hear me, my brother?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Shabbat Shalom, Pastor.
I appreciate you. Likewise. Shabbat Shalom to you as well. Really appreciate you.
Yes. This subject is very powerful. And I like what you said, you know, as far as us coming, not bring on negativity and being disrespectful. The first thing I want to say, let's pray as a people for Ye, or that's his name now, Ye. I was about to say Kanye. You know, I don't want to be disrespectful to him, but you know, we all have a past. You know, we all did things that was not right. So for him to be on the level where he at and coming, I guess out of that boule, I guess you could say lifestyle, that Hollywood lifestyle, and for him to go where he's going right now, as far as the truth, we can't say what Yah is doing to this man for him to be coming out telling all this stuff. And then look how big it got. And then you got other celebrities that's Hebrews who don't want to say nothing, but then they're using people like Charlamagne to try to disrespect him. And this man is really putting his life on the line, because we know when you get to that level and you start opening up your mouth, we know what the higher ups usually do to our people when they start bringing out the truth. So, you know, we got to recognize, you know, we all have a past, but we don't know how the Most High is using this man. And a lot of people is like, well, you know, he didn't repent publicly yet, but y'all waiting for the repentance publicly. Let the Most High use the man and how he using it. If he come out and repent, praise Yah. But if he don't, he's still being used in a way where he's putting his life on the line and for our people, for the Most High people. So, you know, all I can say is let's pray for him and stop putting each other down. We always do that to each other. You know, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I'm like my sister Shonda. I'm gonna stay back and watch, but for him to be on that mainstream level, I think we should pray for him if the Most High using him that well. The Most High is using him that way. So, you know, so we got to be so quick to stop downplaying him and bringing up old stuff that he said, and just pray for him and just be thankful that he's at least taking a stand that most celebrities not doing. And he's the richest Hebrew celebrity, black man that ever was, basically right now during our time. He's really willing to forsake all those riches to put this out there. So that's my stance on it. And only thing I could do is continue to pray for the brother, because I know I once wasn't where I'm at. I'm still learning and growing, and I give the glory to the Most High and just continue to pray for him and ask the Most High put peace. And if he got a true repentance, if he come out publicly, praise Yah. But we can't say what the Most High is doing to him or not. So that's my stance on it, and I just give him his respect that he's really putting his life on the line to do what he's doing, to really speak the truth. Like, you know, I'm not against violence. I mean, I'm not with the violence of the DEFCON and DEFCON. I wasn't in the army, Pastor, so I don't know how it really is, but I'm not with threatening people. But for him to put his neck on the line for our people, you know, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and see, DEFCON, we know that, you know, when you get into DEFCON, ThreatCons, you already know those are just the different levels of preparation. You know, when you start seeing that there's certain potential threat, you know, you start getting to a level of preparedness. So when that ThreatCons go up, you already know, like, certain the bases, you'll see the ThreatCon levels that is displayed, and they may increase the security on how they you know, look at licenses and IDs. They may even take it a step further to start inspecting vehicles to make sure that there's no firearms or bombs or anything that can jeopardize the integrity of the base. So, but he used the word death, DEATH. So there's a big difference of saying DEFCON, DEFCON, versus DEATHCON. When you say DEATH, regardless of his intentions, it just wasn't good for him to make that post, because with that, that's what is being used to come against him. Because other celebrities have said that they were Hebrew Israelites, said that they are blood descendant of Israel. But what's the difference between Kanye and others? Number one, $1 billion. That says it all right there, right? And see, the other thing that for me, just to your point, Kanye West says that he followed Christ now. That is a declaration. He's saying that we are the people of the book. That is a declaration. We know his lifestyle that he used to live, because I covered it. I did videos and playbooks on it when I was still on Facebook. He, you know, talked about the satanic stuff he was practicing. Him saying that he sold his soul to Hasatan, you know, wearing the garments and the jewelry and everything, right? But we see something shifted. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the scripture says the one unforgivable sin is blasphemy, profaning the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Right? So here it is. We could give examples, right? Apostle Paul for the church, right? Because, you know, especially when you look at the church of today, they champion Paul more than they champion the Messiah, right? But Paul, the scripture tells us that he persecuted, and persecution, what falls up under that is murdering,
Yes.
harassing your own people. He took the life of his own people. Witness Stephen, because it said the young Paul was on the scene when Stephen got stoned. Paul said he had an acquired taste to persecute his own people. Now, who did Kanye West kill? Now, we know he did some outlandish things when it comes to, the White Lives Matter t-shirts and, the things he said about slavery and some of his behaviors in the past. But I do recall that, the disciples had their questions about Paul, because even the people was like, wait a minute, didn't Paul used to roll this way? So you have your hesitation. Guess what? Truth be told, I'm not going to fall on the sword for Kanye West. He's a billionaire. I'm not giving up my whole livelihood for Kanye West. I'll pray for the brother, but I'm not going to give up my whole livelihood because he's a billionaire.
Yes.
Times over. He got the resources for his own security to step up his security. You and I don't have that type of resources. But guess what? I'm going to teach like I'm supposed to teach. I'm going to be a watchman and call out the hypocrisies that we're seeing. Right? I do recall that King David had his own soldier, captain of his army, took his life because he was trying to cover up his own indiscretions by sleeping with his wife. What happened? Did the Most High forgive him? Did the people still follow David?
Yes, sir.
David also caused 70,000 soldiers to be killed by taking the census. Did the Most High wash his hands on him? You see where I'm going? We could go situation after situation, circumstances after circumstances. For me, I'm focusing on what did he do just now? He professed Christ. He also made it clear in the clip that I shared that they didn't want that. Fox did not want to play that part of the interview. It leaked out, and I played him saying that we are the people of the book. You see what I'm going at with that? For me is, like you said, the Most High, I believe, is that he's using this as an opportunity to further push this discussion along. Because this awakening is unlike any other awakening before. You seeing people leaving the church, leaving this oppressive system of religion, and now starting to understand that identity is, we should be talking about identity. Why don't we talk about identity? So he just named a number. He got us talking about a number of different things. But that's just my thoughts on it. For me is, I'm just not, whatever he did in his personal life. Hey, all right, he confessed Christ, right? I'm gonna roll with it, but I'm still going to keep him at it. Keep my eyes. You know what I mean? I'm gonna still have still going to have my side eye on him. Like, hey, you know what I mean? You can shift at any time. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. With that too. Well, one thing I want to say as well, we all, of course, we got to have discernment, keep our eyes open. But this is kind of funny because remember that first interview he did, he said we the 12 tribes of Judah, but then now he been correcting himself saying we the 12 tribes of Israel. So I don't know, maybe he been doing some studying or whatever. But like you said, I'm gonna keep my eyes open. I'm not gonna be ignorant. I'm not gonna just jump on the bandwagon. But like you said, I'm gonna keep that side eye open. I'm gonna watch him closely. I'm gonna pay attention to his moves and what he's doing. But like you said again, that great example you brought up with Paul, we got plenty of examples in the Bible, and I can honestly say I'm a witness of it. My wife tell you when I was in the church, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I just got out of prison. So, and people was like, "Oh, you gonna be with him? Oh, you gonna?" And they not seeing like, well, before y'all know, I got out of prison, y'all seen my fruit. But then once y'all know my background, it was just like, oh, you still want to be with him? You know what he done? And so I could like understand the same thing Paul went through, what Kanye going through now, because I've been through it as well. So, I'm not going to take away, like I said, I'm going to keep my eyes open, but you don't know how the Most High is using people. And we just don't know. Look at Moshe. He murdered someone too.
Look at what Nebuchadnezzar did.
Come on, exactly.
Nebuchadnezzar enslaved Israelites, changed their names to point to his deities. Right? Had them eating food sacrificed to his gods. Right? Isn't that the worst? So that he had our people eating pork, eating foods that was declared to be unclean by the Most High.
Yep.
And that's why Daniel and his friends took a stand, said, we are not going to, poison ourselves, profane ourselves. We're not going to compromise. That's what it says in Daniel, purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself.
Yep.
But guess what? Nebuchadnezzar did all kinds of crazy stuff. Remember when Nebuchadnezzar even built up a statue to worship him?
Yes, sir.
And he understood the influence of music, right? Hey, when you guys hear the music play, you guys bow down and worship him.
Yep.
He did all of this. He even stood on his palace similar to David and gave himself the credit for all what he accomplished. And what happened? He turned into a wild man for about 7 years, like an animal out in the field. But once he came out of all of that, what happened? He gave his life to the Most High.
Yeah. He recognized the things that he had wasn't of his, but it was of the Most High who put him in that position.
You see him going at with it, right?
Sir, yes.
I'm sure everyone had their eyes on him,
yep.
right? Because of his change. But guess what? He still moved forward. The Most High received him.
Yep.
Right? I have a past. You have a past. Every last one of those that are watching has a past. Some, even though their stuff not public like Kanye, may be far worse than Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is, we get on our own people harder than anyone else.
Yes, we do.
Some of the things that we see happening, look, that's his business. If he say he got it right with the Most High, I'm gonna keep my eyes on him. But the key is, what does this stuff with Charlamagne the God and some of these other entertainers, men, what does that have to do with talking about a man's reproductive organ, comparing it? What does that have to do with the discussion? Because they know that we are itching ear people.
Yep.
We get caught up in that type of gossip. If you Google it, you'll see 90% is men talking about it. You don't see women talking about it. So that tells you where we are as a people. Not talking about what he actually said, whether you agree with it or disagree. Let that be the conversation. But what does it have to do with a man's reproductive organ and someone who has a history of, suspect behavior, questionable behavior, says that he had a discussion, right? An alleged supposed discussion. And this is what Kanye said to him. Basically, he said, she said.
Yep.
And now people are running with it as if this is actually true. And guess what? Whether it's true or not, what does that have to do with the discussion?
Exactly.
You see what I mean? And anyway, I'm sorry. I know I'm going on a little tangent here.
No, that was good. I just want to say too, I'm not going to be on long, but as a people, we need to really come and stick together. And like you said, keep our eyes on you. You always want to make sure we're paying attention, but let's keep our brother in prayer. I have a lot of close friends as celebrities that I grew up with that's in the entertainment world. And I know a lot of things that goes on behind the scene, like you said, especially with the one guy you brought up that started the conversation, this gossip about Kanye. Me being from New York City, I know a lot about the brother. He been in some scenes that's basically ungodly. That's abomination. So I know some of the things that they do behind these closed doors. So, like I said, for Kanye to come out like this, for Ye to come out like this, and just sticking. He didn't go back down from his word. He stick to it. He just apologized for anybody that he hurt. But other than that, he stick to his word. And for him to do that, we know what the higher ups do to people in that situation. So we just got to pray for protection for this brother. And we got to stick together as a people, man. We got to stick together as a people. We got to come together. Let's not get caught up with the gossip and things like that, because if we believe the scriptures, we know Babylon is falling. It's right there at the door. So we should want to come together more as a people, because that's our problem. We put each other down so quick. A quick example of me being from the hood, you can relate to, Pastor. but sometimes we would have black celebrities come to the hood and they would rob them.
That's right.
They would rob them, but then a white celebrity come, or maybe a government official come to the hood. It's always love. It's like they treat them like they were some type of god.
Man, I remember because I grew up in the 80s, right? You know, the 70s and the 80s, and I remember New Edition, where I'm from, where I live at. New Edition declared that they would not come to our neck of the woods ever again because they got robbed a couple of times. LL2J got robbed. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of them stopped wanting to go perform in certain areas because our own people would rob them. Like you said, pull them off the stage. Remember, LL got pulled off the stage. If you were down, you know, back during the 80s, he got pulled off the stage. He got robbed, pulled off the stage, took his jewelry and everything.
Wow.
So we'll do those things, as, like you said, to our own people. We'll target our own people. And that's what disappointing about this whole situation is, looking at the responses of our own people. You know, Kanye, yes, or Ye, as you pointed out, can he sharpen and tighten up his messaging? Absolutely. And all of us been there. I know when I first transitioned, right, our ministry over, I was, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man, I was going hard.
Yeah.
And I had to really find a balance, right? In the balance of how to communicate identity in our heritage, with making sure that I understand that the people understand what salvation is. You know what I mean? To where so I'm not compromising salvation, but giving an understanding of when Christ says he's coming to bring salvation to the lost sheep of Israel. Guess what? What covers under what's the umbrella of salvation is not just to restore our soul, but everything that we lost. That's what salvation is. It's not just you know, when the woman, it says the woman that touched him was made whole. She was healed. She was made whole. What that means is that in every aspect of her life was restored. Not just her body restored physically, but the things she lost in the process. Relationships were repaired. She can now go into the temple and worship. So when we understand salvation, and I had to teach it from that perspective, that salvation is more to it than just saying I'm saved. My spirit is saved. No, it's also to restore, make you salvageable again. Everything that you lost in the process, we're going to gain back as a people. Salvation for our community is going to be different from those that are not blood descendants of Israel, that are following the Most High, because they didn't lose everything like we lost everything. So you know, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's crazy. You just brought that up, because the Most High, he just revealed that. That's one of the reasons me and my wife we left the church, because it's like, all right, we know Christ, you know, he died on the cross, rose 3 days, blase, but we had a feeling it was something more, like, and I was just studying, and then we've been reading Deuteronomy 28, 1-14 of blessings. So the Most High brought me to Revelation when it says, I know thou art rich. You know, I know thou art rich, and I know your tribulations or whatever. And he said, think about it. I came to restore y'all back to these promises that the Father made to my people, which is the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And it makes more sense now. If you think about it, logically, it makes sense. We lost everything. You know, our disobedience brought us to where we was at. And he came to not just die, but for our sins, and bring us back into following Torah, the commandments, but also to restore us back to the blessings. So that was powerful. It makes more sense than just saying, well, you know, he died on the cross 3 days for his sins. All right, even when you said that in the church, all right, he died for our sins, we accept Christ. Then the question for me was like, then what? Because they never taught us the you know, sin being a transgression against the law. So he died for our sins, but then what? But now that understanding who I am and reading, when I read the Basora now, from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, is seeing how Mashiach walked. He walked being obedient to the Father word, being obedient to the commandments. So that what really made me dig in more to see, oh, we got to follow the law. We got to follow these statutes. We got to follow these commandments. And then to understand too, when we following that, he said, I'm gonna bring these blessings upon you. So it's like, wow, like, and to just being like so blinded to the fact, because I used to be the ones, oh yeah, you know, he died on the cross for our sins, and everything is nailed away with, and that don't make no sense now if you think about it. So yeah, like you just said, you know, he came to restore us so we could be whole again, so we could walk in the ways of what Yah wanted us to walk us in, keep the commandments, and then be restored back to all those blessings. So everything we lost, we're going to get back. So that's my thoughts on it, and that's, you know, that's scripture. So I'm just thankful that he put us to be a part of his remnant and to see the awakening right before our eyes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Don't go anywhere. Stay on Fire Ministries.
Yes,
we got Varnished Sword who just joined us. I want to say peace and blessings to you. I'll let me unmute you here. How are you this evening, Varnished Sword?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Any comments you want to share about the topic that we're discussing this evening tonight?
Yeah. I wanna try to pick your understanding to a possible angle that you haven't looked at with this Kanye West dude. I'm not to overly disparage him, but if you really analyze the things he's saying, he is bringing more confusion to the movement than anything else. Now, back in 2018, he tweeted out a statement that was profoundly ignorant. He said, have you guys heard of the 12 tribes of Judah, the 12 lost tribes of Judah? I heard 2 of them were black. You have to be very ignorant to make a statement like that. To even say 12 tribes of Judah is profoundly ignorant. That means you're too intellectually lazy to even have a surface grasp of the things you're going all over the world trying to spew. Then he said, I heard 2 of them were black. And he's saying the same thing today, 12 tribes of Judah. And here we are 4 years later, and you haven't even did a cursory study of anything. And then you say we are Semitic also. See, that also is a trick of the devil. So all he is doing is perpetuating the lie that the imposters are in fact Jews. And then even a greater lie that they're our people some kind of way, because now if we're both Jews, then they're our people. And so y'all got to stop being so starstruck to sit here and try to act like he's a spokesman, or some of his muddled, idiotic words are something you need to be trying to find some truth in. He's
all right, hey, brother, let's unpack it a little bit, you know, because you and we'll go through each point that you just made. And I definitely understand your arguments, right? And for me, right, and I want to make it clear, this platform, we're not starstruck, right? What I'm dealing with and what Stay on Fire Ministry, we've acknowledged that he has not been clear with his messaging, right? When he started off, just to your point, Stay on Fire Ministry just mentioned what you said. He said 12 tribes of Judah. Well, it sounds like he progressed somewhat, but not in the, you know, not in a way like maybe you or myself, Stay on Fire Ministry, and others are teaching this truth. But he sounds different from saying 12 tribes of Judah to what he's saying here. I'll just play a quick clip. This is the clip that, again, that Fox News did not want to air. They literally cut out the interview. I'll play it real quick here.
Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, a known eugenics, with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who the people known as the race black really are.
Now, he said the 12 lost tribes of Judah. Now, I'm going to say this, and I know you understand where I'm going at with this. The word Jew is a word of confusion, because we're taught that Jew means Judah, right? A transliteration. But how is the word Jew being used today? It's being used synonymously to all of Israel. right? I just had a rabbi. We did a playbook on a rabbi with the Ebos who've been declared to be blood descendants of the ancient Israelites. And the rabbi asked them a question: do you want to be Jewish, something to that effect, Jewish, or remain where you are? And they said to him, wait a minute, not everyone can be Judah, right? But everyone, as far as the tribes, can be Israel. In other words, being Judah, you have to be blood descendant of Judah. Just because you're Judah doesn't mean that that word Judah, even though we know it was with the southern kingdom as well, but that's not synonymous to all of Israel. When we hear the word Jew today, that word is being used interchangeably with Israel. So that's when I hear that, that's what I hear. And you may hear something different, and I'm not knocking what you hear, but that's what I hear. And I taught a lesson called words of confusion, because that word Jew is a word of confusion, just like the word Semitic, of the way that it's being taught with the secondary meanings added to it. So I just want to just share that portion of it. And I understand where you are with it of, hey, he should have some type of growth from the beginning of where he first started to where he is right now. And like I said, again,
what I'm asking is why is his words even important? We're the only race of people that are looking to buck dancing entertainers, especially ones who have taken on right-wing talking points every chance they get, have come out sounding like a babbling idiot every chance he gets. And we want to look to his words as some kind of breakthrough in our movement. He is still saying 12 tribes of Judah, whether or not that meant Israel or one tribe. He's saying 12 tribes of Judah. Judah never meant Israel. Maybe Jew mean Israel. And actually, I'm a beg to differ with your point. Even in the scripture, the word Jew in the New Testament had indeed came to mean all the 12 tribes. That word had taken on all the tribes even at that point. Some words take on different meanings over time, just like Passover took over the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The whole thing began to be called Passover.
Well, I encourage you,
and
I understand your point
clearly. When it says Jew and Gentile, it wasn't saying only the two tribes. It was talking about all of Israel. That is the demarcation. Only two type of people, Jews and Gentiles. So that's biblical. That rabbi didn't know what he was talking about, brother.
Now let me give you clarity on that, and we could do this in another discussion, because I don't want to take away from what we're talking on the main discussion here. But when you see in the scriptures in the New Testament per se, when you see Jew and Gentile, we can start with Romans chapter 8, when you see Jew and Gentile. When you do the proper hermeneutics and you see the scriptures of reference, right? Because you see Paul is dealing with Israel, right? Giving a history of Israel. Jew and Gentile in that text actually is referring to the northern and southern kingdom. I'm not saying everywhere you see Gentile is referring to the northern kingdom, because it depends on what words you see and how it's used. But in that text, you see Jew and Gentile. We know, and this is a fact, when you do the history of the word Jew, right, that starting at the 2nd century, right, because the word Jew that we hear today is from French, or the Proto-Indo-European language of, you also see it evolve in Old English. So the secondary meaning that we see of Jew being used synonymously to all of Israel, that is a 16th century teaching, right? That's a 16th century movement. But initially, the word Jew was used as a transliteration of transliteration, not getting into all of that, but it pointed to the southern kingdom, which was the Benjamites and Judah, and later the Levitical priests, the Levites rather. But then we also see that it was referred to Judah, the tribe, Judah, the son, right? We see Judas' name was Judas. I mean, was the same name, but it was in the 16th century when it made that transition. But in far as scripture wise, and I have a teaching that I did, in-depth teaching, giving sources showing that the word Jew initially was used as a transliteration, interchangeable with Judah, not synonymous to all of Israel. That is religion. That is what Christianity has pushed. That is what Catholicism has pushed. That is what Judaism has pushed. So,
but brother, if you're going to use that, if you're going to use the literal definition in the Greek of these words, then do it on both sides. Because if you say Gentile, that word meant ethnicities. So you've gotten into a little bit of one West.
Brother, please don't disrespect me here, brother. Please don't disrespect me. I'm not one West.
I'm not saying you're one West.
No, I'm just saying that's not one West, right? Like
they
I
are
said,
the only
we can have a
ones that are
discussion
saying
on it.
when Gentile
But that's not. What I said is, in Stay on Fire Ministry will tell you what I just said, and everyone watching, I said in some places where you see the word Jew, when you see Jew and Gentile together, when you see that word Gentile referring to the southern kingdom, right? But not everywhere where you see Gentile is referring to, I'm not southern kingdom, the northern kingdom. Not everywhere where you see the word Gentile is referring to
exactly
northern
what
kingdom.
West says. Brother, that is
verbatim. Brother, you insulted me here. All right. Yeah, I'm kicking him out of here because, again, he's not listening. And I asked the brother to, we'll talk about it and giving him actual facts. And then he trying to push some one West stuff. And I'm not trying to disrespect those that are in the camps, but I'm not going to let someone come on here and try to tell us that we're dealing with one West doctrine, where I actually have teachings showing in some cases that when you see the word Gentile, it's referring to the northern kingdom. Right. But I just had to, put him out of here because I just can't get with that type of dialect, because that's being very disrespectful.
And, I don't want to be disrespectful to the brother, but obviously he wasn't listening. None of our points we just said. One, we not starstruck. We made it clearly off of no celebrity or for anybody. Two, I don't look for Kanye to get a word from. I get the word from the Most High and out of the word itself, and I thank the Most High for putting elders like you and a few other elders in my life. But, at the end of the day, the word tells you to study to show thyself approved. So I just want to make that clear to anyone on the line. But I don't want to I don't want to disrespect the brother, but the brother wasn't listening to none of our points, to what we were saying. And we not starstruck off of the things, off of his words or off of anything we saying. But at the end of the day, he didn't hear none of the points you made with Apostle Paul or anything of the word or of what we was just saying. Like, he started arguing and he's bringing up things that he just made an example of our point we was just talking about with our people. So, I just pray that next time, or anyone that get online, just make sure you listen, you hear both sides here of what we talking about, what we saying. So it won't be none of that stuff that just happened. So that was like, wow, that just proved the point.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to have to do it, but he was just going to, keep rehashing and trying to tell us what something that we already discussed. You had just stated about Paul with the 12 tribes. And then when I listened to it again, and when you really hear it, you can hear how he can make that error, because the way that the word Jew is being used today is being used interchangeably with all of Israel.
Yep.
And that started in the 16th century, right? But yeah, and I understand, and I'm not saying, and we've all said it, you've said it, you've heard me say it in my lives. Yes, Kanye West can get better with what he's saying.
Yep.
He can get better with that. I wish he had people around him that would help him articulate his words and get his words together and correct. But for me, he's stirring up a conversation that we should be talking about and we all experienced it. Just when all of us, we've experienced it, being Israelites, proving that we're connected to the ancient people, and look at the ridicule that we have to deal with. And as our sister threat to threat us, and let me pull it up here, the threat at us, right? Well, the threat us, yeah, that's it. Threat us, right? I did give him an opportunity to say, hey, I got a lesson that I did, right, with explaining this, and we could talk about it another time. But when you start getting into using labels like idiot and all that other stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have tolerance for that.
Yeah, me
And
neither.
you know, with that, it's like, all right, let me put it aside. And literally gave him an explanation, and he still didn't want to hear it, and still want to go further with, you know, bring out One West doctrine and all that other stuff. You know, and like I said, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone that's over there in the camps, you know, but I just don't subscribe to that One West doctrine. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and start knocking and going at our own people.
Yep.
Right? Because guess what? That's what they want us to do.
Yep.
You know, the church, let's start with the poor, the poor things that they've been teaching us. You know, starting with that word of this, the word of delusion, the word of deception, the word Jew. So again, Kanye West, I appreciate this discussion because it's forcing and pushing this discussion even further. Now you have a billionaire who is awakened, who is speaking, even though it may not be the way that we want it, but guess what? He's causing discussions and they are validating his point.
Yep. Yep. And I want to say to his point, Shalom, Sister Carolyn. I want to say to Kanye point, Ye point, because I've been seeing on my timeline on Facebook where people is like, they actually saying like, oh man, Kanye saying like we the people of the book, and like you said, stirring up that conversation where people are starting to look into this. Like they starting to look, people that I'm talking about that's on my timeline, that's not even into the word, and now they seeing someone like Kanye or Ye saying it. Now that it's making them intrigued, like, oh, Ye said we the people of the book. So that's where his celebrity status coming at on people like that, people who don't know, because now they're going to start looking at people maybe like you and me, Sister Carolyn. Man, y'all been talking about this on y'all Facebook for a long time. Wait, what Ye's talking about? So you just never know how the Most High using people, because people are shocked. Like I had a cousin, she just did her DNA test, and before she even put the test up, I told her exactly where her DNA came back, and everything on the test came back to all the countries. You know, it came back to Ghana, some other, I forgot the other ones, but everything I told her, she was like, wow, cuz you right. So she was just mad, like, so I'm not American? I said, well, you know, they already gave us a clue as far as calling us African American. So there was something there that, you know, that I've been trying to tell you for a long time, but people are shocked. But someone like Ye saying what he said, you know, a lot of people that's still into, I guess, the world activities and this Western culture or whatever you want to call it, it's going to wake a lot of people up to really start looking like, oh, hold up, what Ye talking about? And that's what people doing. People on my timeline is like, hey, man, wait, you know, I don't care what y'all say about Ye, him sounding crazy. He put a lot of truth out there about the Planned Parenthood, but hold up, he's saying we the people of the book, and I always had a feeling. So he's stirring up a lot of conversation to get our people to really starting to look in and see what he's talking about as far as us being the people of the book. So, hey, I'm all for how the Most High going to use us to wake our people up, and I'm not celebrity or starstruck about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sister Carol, anything you want to, I know you heard some of the discussion, and, you know, this is the last minute spare the moment live, you know, that I did, but I was just really getting frustrated. Like when I start seeing the notifications, because, you know, I have my, you know, I'm part of certain news streams, and, you know, so when certain things come out, I get notified on it. And I started seeing this thing about Charlamagne the God, you know, having a supposed conversation, alleged conversation with Kanye West about another man's private parts, and now trying to make that go viral and all that stuff. And other men are jumping on the bandwagon to talk about it. Even those that say that they're supposed to be Kanye West friends, saying that, hey, you know, I just got to talk to you about you saying this, talking about another man's private part. And they're talking about another man's private part, about a he say, she say thing. But there you go, Sister Carol.
Peace and blessings to you, both of you men, this evening. Well, that's the playbook. That's what they want to be done. They want to distract. They want to use us to destroy him. They want us to be the ones to discredit him while they tear him down, quote unquote, financially, which is not going to happen, which is why he built his wealth the way he did, so he could come out to do this. He stated in his lyrics, if you go back to all his songs, he told you what he was going to do when it was time to do it. He's been on that path. But however, as we always do, haven't we always been the ones who sacrifice our people? Starting with Christ, starting with, we've always done that. Look, we did it with Malcolm X, we did it with Martin, we did it with Medgar Evers, we did it with everybody. We've always been the snitch. We've always been the one to destroy our people. And so Charlamagne the God, who, his questionable situation that he's in, who is he to talk about anybody's private parts, is a distractor because he got called unexposed as being a sellout. So what do? You flip it back on him to make everybody laugh and joke and create memes and create cartoons. And I've seen all kind of stuff going on Instagram, from Instagram, Twitter to YouTube to Facebook, whatever platform, social media's out there. We're the ones doing it.
Absolutely.
Not them. We niggas.
Exactly. Hey, real quick, we got and my brother, forgive me if I mispronounce, but is it Mitt's music production? If I pronounce it incorrectly, forgive me. Like the old school would say, charge it to my head, not to my heart. If I mispronounce, is that how you pronounce it? Mitt's music production?
No, bro, that's fine though. Everybody pronounce it that way, but it's Mighty's.
Oh, Mighty's. Okay, my apologies. No, and please, no disrespect. My apologies.
Oh, I understand.
But thank you. I really appreciate you for jumping on and even showing your face, because a lot of people on YouTube, say a lot of stuff and put a lot of stuff out there, but don't put their face behind their words. And only reason why Sister Carol is hidden here is because normally she show her face so everybody know how she look. But I just thank you for even just doing that, because the day and time we live in, so many people are hiding behind social media to say stuff that they would not normally say. But I really appreciate you, brother. Anything that you want to add to the discussion tonight? Because we're really talking about, was it necessary to get into the discussions about a man's private part as it really keeping focus on the bigger issue that's going on?
Well, we know that answer. I think that was just a tool, to be honest, because one thing I will say what Kanye West did is he did bring attention to it.
Yeah.
And with all the people that he influenced, it did something. I'm not saying, like you said, we're not saying he's saved.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you read his body language, he was really nervous up there too. So
yeah.
So and well, I do want to say this. I am a longtime listener. A lot of stuff you do teach us, and I appreciate it. And what you were saying earlier, like I said, I agree with it. Like when you was explaining about I can't remember the guy that came up disrespecting. I forget what it was, but I'm like, obviously you really don't understand what was being spoken about. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, and unfortunately, and what I was just pointing out, that we all had to go through a growing point, right? And I'm sure, just like myself, and Sister Carol was there when she first met me, when I transitioned out of Christianity, right? But at the same time, I was still saying that I was a Hebrew Christian, right? And I was still honoring the Shabbat. And I wasn't honoring the Shabbat. And Sister Carol will tell you, I was one of those, I know the word, and I was arguing, defending Sunday worship, right? And I was wrong. But it took the work of the Most High. And as I continued to study and be diligent in his word, it pricked me when I started reading like the Maccabees and reading the history, showing like, wait a minute, this is totally the opposite of what Christianity has taught me. So I went from that Black Lives Matter in the end saying I'm a Hebrew Christian pastor to saying that I'm a Hebrew pastor. I'm an Israelite that know my identity, and I don't claim to. I don't embrace Christianity no longer, and I honor the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. So that's my testimony, and I know from the beginning, right, when I made this transition, I didn't do everything right. Not everyone agreed with what I had to say, but I still had to go through a learning process. Here's the kicker: as a pastor. Now, that's the hard thing. How many pastors are going to say that they were wrong? I repented to our assembly, said I was wrong about some of the things that I taught you. But the Most High winked at my ignorance, right? And now that he brought that to my attention, where I needed to improve and study, I repented, and we've shifted ever since.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then one thing I do want to say, I know you mentioned how you got roots in the Kojic church. Me also. So when you talk about the fervency, that's one thing about Kojic church. I don't give a care what you come at them with. They will defend it like crazy. But I went through that period where I got tired of the same 10 messages like yearly. So I'm like, it's got to be more to the Bible. So yeah, I went through that growing process too, and it did start with that with Pastor Dark. To be honest, funny, he listening to his message like sparked it, and that's where I went from that to I'm a Hebrew Christian. It was the same process for me. Well, not exactly, because I was a minister in the Kojic church, but I got tired. Hold on, but I got tired of it, and I got tired of the process because we know, like the Kojic church, you got to pay them dues, and when it comes to being a minister, it's not really about what my part of the denomination. It wasn't really about knowing too much. It was more like when you're respected by your pastor and when you gain a rapport, you can get you can become a minister. But it like I said, I got tired of the same few messages, that come around every year, and it just didn't make sense. I honestly got tired of prophecy too, because that's another thing that was in the area where I am in the Kojic church. It was big. Like, people went to church just to hear somebody prophesy, until this one particular guy prophesied to me, and it just made me angry because I got tired. I'm like, dude, you lying. Just to be honest, it was like, then right there, I talked to God. I said, God, I don't want another man to prophesy to me again. He actually showed me how to avoid that. That's another story. But I got tired of it, and it just seemed like the same monotonous process. But Lord, that was like 2016. I think it was around that time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's when the journey started.
Wow. Powerful testimony. And we'll do this again next Saturday night. And I definitely would like you to come on and share your testimony, because I know when I talk about Kojic, some people like, oh, well, they can't really understand, but you understand, that lifestyle, how they are, you will fight stuff to the end, and it's almost like mob, for as certain families are in certain places doing certain things. And so, yeah, we definitely would like to have you on again, and just to share your testimony, because I would like to know more about, some of the things, your experience in Kojic. And for me, like you pointed out, and like the things that we would do is rapture practice. And I was like, wait a minute, rapture practice? That makes no sense. And when I start understanding what the word rapture truly mean, and we're sitting up there like rapture practice, and all of us shouting out hallelujah, like, wait a minute, we're celebrating and asking to be raped and kidnapped, so I really appreciate it. And thank you for your inputs. I'm gonna allow, we got another person that jumped on, and if you want to stay on, you can. If you want to drop off, that's up to you. You can jump back on if you choose to. If you hear something that's stated and you may have missed a point that you want to make, one way or the other, the link, you could jump right back on. But next Shabbat, or after the Shabbat next week, we'll have a discussion. I want to get you on and to share your testimony of making that transition.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It'll be my honor.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Malaka, I'm bringing you up here. Let me unmute you here. How are you, my sister?
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, greetings and shalom, 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 mishpachah to the family watching. Greetings to the panel. I see my brother, Stay on Fire Ministries, up on here. So praise the Most High. So I'm not going to be long, guys. I just want to say, with this whole thing with Kanye West and everything, and there's some people that are really just bashing and not trying to hear anything that this brother is trying to say. So I just want to remind everybody, remember Rob Shaul. Remember that like his whole function was the persecution of the brethren until he had his encounter with Mashiach, right? So now I don't know what's going on with Kanye's, with him. I don't know if in fact he has had a visitation from Messiah. But what I do know is that the word tells us in the last days, Yahuwah is going to pour out his spirit on all flesh. So what I would just like to encourage Yasharal to do is be praying for this brother. Even if he's serious, number one, he's in danger. Okay, we know how they do when you open your eyes and try to come out from among them. Okay, I just feel like a lot of times we have this thing with us. We don't trust each other. We're not loving on each other. And as soon as someone tries to come up out of the muck and the mire and come out of darkness into the marvelous light, we bashing them and crushing them. So I'm just saying we need to be careful who we condemn out of our mouths. He is a melanated brother. He can very well possibly be one of us finally awakening. So I'm just calling for prayer for Kanye. And my thing is the Ruach exposes all things. So if he's not, being real about it, at least it's still opening some eyes. Rob Shaul also said, some people, they will preach the good news for vain glory or even sometimes for our destruction. But bottom line is it's still being preached. So that's what I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Appreciate what you said. And that's the thing. And just what you pointed out, we Stay on Fire Ministry and myself had pointed that out earlier about Paul's walk that you pointed out. We highlighted some of the others that did some questionable things. And David did it, while he was king and, in the position that he was in. And he did a lot of things. He actually cost the life of 70,000 soldiers, so and this is one of the things when it comes to our community, we have more leeway. We give more leeway to our oppressors than our own people, right? I saw people celebrating that Chase cut ties with Kanye. And I'm like, do you understand what Chase used to do? How they built up their capital. So that's celebrating someone that used a group, an institution, part of the banking institution that sold our ancestors, used them for collateral to build up their what you want to call it, their monies, right? And yet we're celebrating them. We're good at that. We are very good at that. Destroy one another, but give the oppressor more room for repentance and forgiveness, and will love up on them. Cognitive dissonance and Stockholm syndrome is what we see.
Mm-hmm. Yep, right? You are so right. You are so right, brother. So thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm going to hop off and hang back and just listen in. And I'm just saying, we got to love on each other. And remember, this is the last thing I'm going to say. He said, when my people that are called by my name humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, right? It's so wicked not loving your brother, not seeing the greater good in your brother, not seeing the ability for your brother to change and come on up a little higher. So we got to do better. I love y'all. Thank you for having me on, Dr. Kelly. I'm still watching.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, sis. Thank you. Love you as well. Sister Carol, Stay on Fire Ministry. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say to Sister, she logged up, about what she said about if the word even said, I think it's in 1 John. If you, how can you say you love the Most High if you don't love your brother? So you saying you love the Most High that you never seen, but then on the flip side, you don't love your brother.
Yeah,
that you seen. Like we sit here seeing this man transition over. So who are we? That's beyond my pay grade to try to put him down. Like sister, she brought it back up. You know, he's in danger right now. He's in danger. He put his life on the line. So we don't know if he had that encounter with Hamashiach or not. So
and he's public. That's the
exactly. Yes,
it's easy to say how we would say certain things unless you're in the public and you're on that type of platform. Because even when I gave my first sermons and all that, being younger, that was still a challenge. You know, things that you had in your mind that you were going to say, you didn't say it when you got in front of the people, or you forgot to say it, or you may have misquoted something. It happens. You know, it happens all the time. And again, but we just have to, you know, for me, I'm listening to what is being said. I'm listening to what's being stirred up, because it's stirring up a conversation that we should have. And actually, not just stirring up the conversation, it's pushing it forward.
Yes.
Right? Because now you have a billionaire saying, and the very thing that they didn't want to be released. Whether he said 12 tribes of Judah, or if he said 12 tribes of Levites, Levi, the 12 tribes of Benjamin, he still mentioned that we being the people of the book. That is stirring up conversation. Whether we agree with his the semantics or the things that whether we agree or disagree with what he said fully, but we know what he's saying. He's saying that we are the people of the book. He's a billionaire that's making it clear he's willing to lose everything that he have to stand on the truth that he is putting out there. We can't be mad at him.
Yep.
Now, of course, I'm going to keep my eyes on him. You know what I mean? You know, I'll keep my eyes on him. But hey, he is doing something that we haven't heard a billionaire do.
Exactly.
You know, any thoughts, Sister Carol?
Oh, I totally agree. He's in transition. He's being renewed before our eyes. I remember his Sunday worship services he used to have before these same people shut it down. When he was still calling himself a Christian, but I can see then he was trying to move from where he was to where he's going. And he's moved from that situation over to where he is now. So you can see a movement and changing in him. And we all went through that. I remember when I transitioned. I was angry at everybody. I wanted to go fight all kind of people. But I had to calm my spirit and get back to Yah and repent and get back into the word to understand who I am and my purpose and what I'm supposed to do. And I think in time, as we watch him and we keep our eyes on him, it's going to happen. Especially if the right person gets with him and help him study. That's what he needs. He needs an education in the word because he doesn't know it. And it's very obvious he doesn't know it. Instead of we ridicule and beat him up, why don't you reach out to him and say, hey, brother, I see you going in that direction. Let me help you. Let me teach you Genesis. Nothing else. Let me just teach you Genesis. And help him understand the genealogy of who is who on this planet. Because everybody in Genesis 10 is all on this planet. And I guarantee you, not one Negro know them all.
Come on now.
Not one Negro walking around here know them all. Had a fool. I'm gonna not say I mean this very much because he was acting very foolish. Told me I was committing there's no such thing as Eber. Yeah, that's what I said too. But that's this foolishness and ignorance that we have in our head that we don't want to let go. We believe anything else except that, and just ask ourselves that. You know, and the most craziest thing of all, Christ is a Hebrew Israelite. We keep forgetting that.
Exactly.
He's a Hebrew Israelite.
Exactly.
So how are you gonna call yourself a Christian? He didn't say he's coming back to save no Christians. Where's that in the book? Where they do that at? I'm just talking like that. Where they do that at?
That's true.
He said, I'm coming back to my people. But who are your people, Christ? Who are your people?
Exactly. Exactly. So again, and I want to make it clear that are we saying that we 100% are in agreement with every statement that Kanye has made? We all express
No.
that we're not.
No.
But what we are appreciative is this discussion.
Yes.
It's pushing the discussion even further along. And for me, I just want to call out the hypocrisies, right? You know how it goes. Once I get past 2 hours, I start making up words,
exactly,
right? But the hypocrisy, I'm saying hypocrisies among our community of what we're seeing on display with these men that have big platforms in this entertainment industry, wanting to humiliate him with shifting the narrative, as Sister Carol pointed out, with this foolishness about someone's manhood, the size. I'm like, man, I don't, back in the day, we'd be like, and you from up the way, we'd be like, man, what are you talking about another man's manhood?
Exactly.
That's like a guy going to another guy saying, I look better than you. You looking at him like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Side eye look.
It's for the women. You know what I mean? I don't care what do you think I look like to you? It has absolutely no bearing on the conversation.
None.
He didn't address none of the conversation, none of what Kanye is saying, and others are jumping on that bandwagon and talking about a he say, she say supposed conversation.
Yep.
Because there's no videos. He said they had a conversation and Kanye said this to me.
Call him on the phone.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's like living color. The spirit of what's her name, Sister Benita Butt Real.
Yep.
You ain't here for me because I ain't the one to gossip. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares about that stuff? Address what he talked about. He said he is connected to the certain media outlets that have put him in place to do what he did and what he's continued to do. Kwame said the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, because Charlamagne and God brought up stuff about his father that had nothing to do with this situation of what he was dealing with Stephen A. Smith calling him a bust. So he jumped in it and made himself look silly about trying to bring up what his father had done, what his brother had done. It's like, wait a minute, why are you bringing this up? Then who else jumped in it? Boyce Watkins jumped in it. Some of the other people, and it started letting you see who's connected, who is part of this. As Kwame said, the get along game, the go along, get along game. Now we see not Kwame, but Kanye or Ye in a similar position. The difference is he got far more resources than what Kwame has. Look at what he's dealing with, though. He's dealing with the same things and who some of the people that's starting to raise their heads, but even more, because now you're seeing how far these tentacles are stretching. So now it's going beyond this guy, Charlamagne and God. Now we're seeing all the people that's under that influence. So yeah, that's just my thoughts, though.
Gatekeeping. They're the gatekeepers.
Yep. And I just want to say what you said, Pastor. Let's not get caught up with the distractions. That's for, especially about somebody parts that's none of our business. Like, but what Kanye's saying, what Ye saying, let's be able to, like you said, let's be able to chew the meat and spit out the bones.
Correct.
Yeah.
Chew what he listen. What's the word when you said listen to with intent? With
intelligence.
Yes, listen with intelligence. Listen to what he's saying. This man is saying stuff where obviously the higher ups, the ish people is losing their mind. And I think I didn't listen to Jay-Z album, that 444 album, but it was a brother I listened to that he was saying about, like, when you listen to his album, he was giving away a lot of the ish people's secrets in that album on how to get wealthy. He was teaching our people how to get wealthy in that album. And I'm like, wow, I never even listen to it to realize. But I was just like, so it's like Ye is really, he's out there, and some of these people like Jay-Z, you know, they give us little bits and pieces of it, but they not going to do what Ye doing. So just chew the meat. Let's not get so distracted with the way these ish people was using our people to try to throw him under the bus to buck him. And let's just listen with intent and with intelligence. So that's what I gotta say. And thank you for everything that you've been doing, Pastor. Sister Carol, I really appreciate you and your post on Facebook. It keeps my day going. But I really appreciate y'all, and I just want to say to the House of Israel, let's go out and, like Sister Bagyah said, let us love our brother. Let's love our brother. Like Pastor said, keep our eyes open.
Yep.
But we know what the Most High did with Paul, so we can't be sitting in the seat of the Most High, because we is not the Most High. We just gotta let him do what he's doing, let him do his works, and just keep Ye in our prayers, because you know he got plenty. He's a billionaire, 6 times, 7 times over. So they know they can't just take his money away that easy. So what's the next best thing? Is to kill him.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And guess what? When you have between, I think you said, the upwards of between 6 to 11 billion, you can't take that money away.
No.
You ever see Brewster's Million with Richard Pryor?
Yeah.
When he was tasked to spending, I think it was like $100 million in 30 days.
In 30 days.
And how impossible it was to throw away.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's impossible to throw away even 1 billion.
Yep.
You know, it's impossible to throw away $11 billion. $11 billion is still $11 billion.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
No matter how you, and that's where the upset, that's why many are upset, because he had the capital that normally when many make certain statements don't have, right? Shaq said it best. Shaq, when they was talking about Shaq years ago when he was still in the league, talking about, you know, discussing the big contract he was given, you know, $100 million. And he was like, how does it feel to be wealthy? And Shaq stopped the person. I never forget. He said, well, wait a minute, let's stop. You know how Shaq talked. He said, I'm rich, but the person that cuts my check is wealthy.
Wow.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Nick Cannon is rich.
Correct.
Right. But Kanye West is wealthy.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Nick Cannon, he's rich, and his livelihood got threatened because he was losing his shows, and he shifted because he didn't want to lose what he had already, the being rich. He didn't want to downgrade. But when you're wealthy, guess what? That means that you can write paychecks and make other people rich.
And that's why Kanye is unbothered. That's why he moves the way he moves. Unlike Nick. Nick bucked down and buckled down. Kanye is like, whatever. I'm doing this over here.
I mean, come on. Kanye told Pierre Morgan,
yes,
I could school you.
That's right.
School you. I got more money than you. And what did he say? Unfortunately, you do.
Yep, exactly.
He said, unfortunately, you do. What do you mean, unfortunately, you do?
Exactly.
See, listen with intelligence. There were so many nuggets that were shared, but how dare, that's the conversation. How dare this Negro, who is he to think that he could talk to Pierre Morgan, even though we don't like him, but he's still part of our community. How dare him talk down to him like that?
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? Anything but the Negroes.
That's right.
So again, I don't agree with everything that Kanye West is saying, but guess what? I'm thankful because now he's pushing the buttons to have a bigger conversation. He pushing this conversation even further because now, guess what? If he said 12 tribes of Judah, now somebody is going to do a teaching correcting him.
Exactly. I
mean, I did a lesson in years ago, purposely misquoted scripture, purposely and made up a scripture. Just so that way to see if the people catching it and they're correcting me.
Right.
I'm not saying that he's doing this intentional, but I'm just saying that sometimes we have to have that strong delusion to really appreciate the truth that's in front of us.
That's right.
That's the Second Thessalonians.
Yep.
Right? Chapter 2. So with that being said, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to pray for the brother. And I encourage everyone, pray for the brother. Pray for everyone. Pray for those that may be in the Kanye West position, want to do what he's saying and want to step out and show him support, but they are scared because they don't want to lose their capital.
That's it.
Pray for those.
And
you know,
he called
because
that out. And he called it out. Remember, he said, he said,
yep, you're right.
Says, oh man, I wish I could do what you're doing.
Yep.
You know, he said, but I can't do it, man. Why?
Yep. He definitely called that out, Sister Carrie.
He called them all out and came to him and said, oh man, I wish I could say that. Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan, yep.
I wish I can say what you're saying, yay, but I can't do it. Yeah.
Wow.
He got a platform now because now they're talking about him in Japan. They're talking about him in Russia. All this is all over the world now. It's not just in the hip hop little community.
Exactly.
That's what we're not paying attention to. He has drawn attention all over this world.
Yep.
So think about it. The Igbos just got confirmed. We don't need anyone to confirm them.
Come on.
But the Most High said he was going to use the other nations to help restore the same ones that tore us down. Now they're going to what? Start celebrating and singing our praises. That's Zephaniah chapter 3. The same people that brought shame to us, now he's going to use them to restore and celebrate us.
Correct.
Come on, family. It's right there in the scripture. So it said that he was going to use other nations to carry our daughters on their shoulders as part of this restoration process. That means that those that have been under this delusion from the other nations, they're going to have their, like the church would say, come to Jesus moment and say, you know what? We inherited lies of our forefathers. And guess what? Here is the truth. We're seeing that more and more happening right now before us.
Exactly.
So again, the issue, I believe, wasn't that statement. That statement was just the opportunity that many were looking for. Correct. Because I believe that the real statement was highlighted because they took it out of the interview. Him saying that we are the people of the book.
Correct.
Yep.
That's the threat. Because if they would have had that in the interview, then it's a different story. Then it's like, okay, maybe that's the true, maybe that's the main issue, is him saying DEFCON versus DEFCON. But for them to remove it, Fox News removed that from their interview.
That's right.
That says a lot. That says a lot.
Correct.
So any final comments you guys want to share? Because I know that like I said, we've been going long beyond my normal capacity of conversation. I have a 2-hour window. Before you know it, I start making up words and making up scripture, and but any final words? And matter of fact, I'll start with you. Stay on Fire Ministry. Let the people know about your ministry, and I really appreciate the transparency of letting the people know that, hey, you have a past. You had to come from some hard times and situations, but guess what? Look at where you are. Look at how the Most High carried you and put you in the place in a position that you're in right now. So if you want to tell the people about your ministry and also let them know about your YouTube channel, your other social media channels, you have the floor.
Yeah. So my ministry was, when I first started, of course, I was still in the Christian world, was just the testimony of where I came from growing up in the church, going to Islam, kind of in the 5% as well, because my family was a little bit into all that.
Oh, you be God.
Yep, exactly. Hey, what's today? Mathematics, God, and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You talk about 5%, 10%.
Yep. So I grew up in a little bit of all of that, and last time I was locked up, I was tired of myself, and I just asked the Most High, what's the true way? Is it Islam? Is it Christian? And you confirmed this in I think your last teaching, but he showed me John 14:6. I'm the truth, the way, and the life. No man coming to the Father but through him. So from there, you know, I still was in like Christianity or whatever. But recently, I think the last time me and my wife was at we went to like this marriage thing that my friend church was having. Then we went to their church. We just left the church, but we went to this church, the church for my friend, and this Gentile brother, he prophesied over me and said, the Most High, I want you to just read your word for 6 months. And when I did that, as like I started again, just reading more of my word, me and my wife started noticing the scripture sounded like it was talking about our people. And then that's when he started opening up, like the brother said earlier, Stephen Darby, the other brother from New Orleans, I forgot his name, Bishop Coleman, the one that be with
Thibodeau.
Yeah, Thibodeau. You know, they had they Negro land toy up. So he started opening me up to that, and then you popped up on my timeline, and that's when it was just over from there. Then your teachings and the things you was teaching, I was reading, and I'm like, oh snap! Like this is the stuff I was reading. This is just confirmation. And then, like once I got to that 4th month, that's when the Most High started showing me, and He showed me through me and my wife's name. My name is Hebrew. Rayshawn is a Hebrew name.
Absolutely.
I'm like, wow, I didn't even know my mom's probably didn't even know that. And then my wife's name, she's named after Daniel. Her name is Danita, is a Hebraic name as well. So it was just like all the breadcrumbs was like all through it. So our ministry now, we teaching our people, waking them up of who they are, and just the importance of just keeping the commandments. And like you were saying, the restoration of going back to the blessings that we was promised, that the Most High promised us, and just getting back to just being in the obedience to the Most High. So that's our ministry. And a lot of things we learn on the fly. And, you know, a lot of teaching I get is from you and your cousin Bishop Williams, and also Apostle Curtis. And I just get it. Whatever y'all teach, I go back and study it. And then I come up with my lessons from there, me and my wife. And that's what we've been doing. That's our ministry's about. Stay on Fire Ministries at YouTube. My Facebook, if anybody want to reach out to me, is Ray King, King, and my last name is Hardy, Hardy. And yeah, that's what we about. And we just want to put the truth out there. I'm just thankful. The Most High told me don't be afraid. Stay encouraged. Stay under my elders, which is you, like I said, and just go put the truth out there. And like he said to, I think it was Ezekiel, either they're going to forbear or they're going to hear. So that's where I'm at with it. I'm to the point. I'm basically on my I'm putting the truth out there. I don't care how people feel about it. You know, at the end of the day, I just want to be a servant for the Most High. You know, I know my breath is not my breath that I'm breathing. Understanding how He made Adam, He breathed into his lungs. So this breath is not mine, and I want to put, as long as I'm on this earth, I'm gonna put the truth out there now. So that's what our ministry is about, and we just want to speak the truth to our people, and I'm big on our people coming together. So that's what it's about. So I'm humbled that the Most High is able to use me and my wife in that way. And for our short time that we've been married, we've been learning a lot. We've been through a lot, and it's all praises to the Most High how He been using us. My wife is a prayer warrior. And I'm just thankful. I'm thankful for you, this platform. Again, you, Sister Carol, my elders, and everything that I've been learning from y'all. And like the word says, you know, we got to study ourselves, because like the brother who came on, he didn't hear nothing we said, and he was already going off of, hey, you know, Kanye said this so many years ago, but he didn't hear what I said in the last interview he had with at the Drink Champ. He said we are the 12 tribes of Israel. So there was something from them 4 years ago to then where it seemed like he'd been studying. And then like the last clip you played where he still said we was the 12 tribe of Judah, but he said us, the black people. So something is going on where he's studying, or the Most High is giving him something. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's like, you can hear the difference now that he's learning. And that's what all of us, like when I started off, I was saying too, I'm a Hebrew Christian, and the Most High was like, hey, you ain't no Christian, you're a Hebrew Israelite. So, you know, we all going to learn, bro, and we just got to study ourselves. So that's what our ministry is about. That's what we're here for. We want to encourage each other, and we want to be there as brethren, sisters, as the daughters and sons of Zion for each other. We've been through too much to keep putting each other down. So that's all I got to say. And I just pray that we could just continue to come together and grow as a people.
Absolutely. Anyone you particular or any group, anything you want to throw in the garbage can?
Just everybody who's just put everybody who's just putting our people down. So just anybody who's going against us. Charlamagne the God, that's a perfect example. We're gonna throw him in the trash tonight.
Absolutely, throwing him in the trash right now. All right, Sister Carol. In the words of Marley Marl in the symphony, next up, I believe that's me. Get on the mic and join the symphony.
Hey, all right. No, I was kidding. Made me start rapping. No, basically what you said earlier. We need to pray for our brother, pray for our people, period. Because we're in a position now where we're about to be exposed to the world finally for who we are. And we have a process now that we can galvanize that and push it out to wherever we are of who we are. It's a lightning bolt is happening right now. But if you pay attention to what he has struck, and we need to galvanize that and keep it going. Yes, keep an eye on him, what he says, but the bottom line is you can see a renewing going on with him. And we need to support that renewal and pray for him and do not allow any danger to come toward this guy, because they're coming for him. They're gunning for him whichever way they can. They can't get him financially, but they're gonna try to get him some other kind of way. Because that's what they do. And we just have to stay prayerful for him and for ourselves. This is a dangerous time we're living in. You can see all what's going on with the financial markets is happening. We need to be preparing ourselves for whatever shift is going to happen, because another shift is going to happen. We are shifting again, and we have to be ready to do it, go along with it, and still stay strong and endure. We got to endure all this stuff. Whatever they bring out, we have to endure it. So
absolutely.
I just want us to pray, stay hopeful and stay faithful and stay in the word and stay close to Yah.
Amen.
Absolutely. Anyone or that you want to, or any group, anything you want to throw inside this garbage can here, give the can to.
Just put all the gatekeeping Negroes. Put all of them in the trash can, because that's where they need to go.
All right, here we go. All right, and you hit it on the nail for me. Stay on Fire Ministries. You hit it right on the nail, because for me, Charlamagne the God. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put all the Hoppin' Bobs and the Hoppin' Bob bets. You know what I mean? All those that are participating in this attempt to publicly buck a billionaire, a Negro billionaire. Something we've never thought we'd ever see is that a Negro billionaire, a niggas, nagas, however you want to use it. We see that for the sake of speaking, he is being now trying to force him into completely denouncing every single thing he said. Right? He apologized for those he offended about the DEFCON 3 statement, but he didn't apologize to those establishments that have enslaved us and did all kinds of things to our people. So I want to throw in all of them inside the garbage can, like my uncle would say, everything, I'm throwing everything, right? Throwing all of them, get the garbage can.
Right.
The church, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, all of them, Hinduism that played a part for us in the disposition that we're in right now. Islam, conscious community, all of them, they get the garbage can, because they're all on the same side.
Exactly.
And we've all experienced, on the level that we're on, not on the level that Kanye's on, but we've all experienced the ridicule just by being clear that we know who we are. We know that what our identity and who it connects to, and look at the ridicule that we've been subjected to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm going to give them all the garbage can. I'm going to take it back to the Batman days. I'm going to give them a 3-piece. And I'm going to give them their order to go. Well, family, appreciate you guys. And in the words of Moses, when he dealt with the children of Israel, because they were in a challenging time like we're in right now. You know, they were dealing with their past, which is the Egyptians. They don't want them to go free. They don't want to experience that new transition, that new life. And also in front of them was opposition. There seemed to be a stumbling block, which was water. And Israel began to panic. They began to make comments of going back to Egypt and wishing and that they were back in Egypt, you know. And Moses, under the instruction of the Most High in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, he used these words. He said, "Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation." Not just feel it, but see the movement of the Most High. These Egyptians that you see here today, in other words, these strongholds, this siege, because Israel was getting placed into another siege. The water in front of them, the the Egyptians coming up behind, so they had nowhere to run. So this siege, right, this stronghold, this python or the Pythian spirit will not have power over us ever again. The Most High will fight for us. But this is one attribute we have to learn how to do as a people. We have to be quiet. In that word, it says hold our peace, but it really means be quiet. The Hebrew word there is karash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here. And guess what? Me and my brother Stay on Fire Ministry and Sister Carol, who dropped off, we are going to continue to move forward no matter what is going on. Shalom. Peace and blessings, family.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
One of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, it's a loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries, and you know, it's
the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You just you wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time the Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
There's only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that he was because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
Look on the outside edge of the pews. Look on the outside edge of the pews where you are. You see the different markings alongside the edge of the pews? They represent the different tribes that made up our congregation back then and spoke over 6 different languages among themselves. These were small tribes enslaved by larger tribes and sold to Europeans as they came along the African coast. One of the major languages they spoke back then was that of Aramaic and also too of Hebrew, which means the writings read from bottom to top. Assalamu alaikum. Which means peace be unto you. It's not a Muslim term. It's actually the same greeting which Christ gave into the disciples when he met them in that region. Most countries in that region read from right to left. Here in America, we read from left to right. That's why the pastors in the St. Glass window up front here are going in numbers 2 through 7 from the right-hand side over to the left, to the left, to the left.
This is First African Baptist Church, the oldest black church in North America. The building built by slaves. The gentleman that laid the first brick laid the last. The balcony hold pews that actually were built by slaves. They have the oldest information in this building. That information is written in cursive Hebrew writing.